What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Joannis or Joe Hatagwa. I'm a Sierra Leonean American living in Accra, Ghana. I'm back in Ghana, finally, after 7 weeks. And if you want to know how to get your Sierra Leone citizenship, you guys have been asking a lot about it, so we're going to tell you about it today. So this is the video for you. All right. We are live on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. While we give it some time for people to get on, I'll do some housekeeping. But first, I'll let you guys know that I do have a special guest on today who just recently went to Sierra Leone, has a channel that talks about it, and we're going to talk to her all about it. But she can tell you better than I can, since my process for getting my citizenship was a little bit different from how I recommend for all of you. I am fortunate enough that both my parents were born and raised in Sierra Leone. And so I could use their documents for me to get my citizenship back in 2018. But for those of you who are thinking about getting your citizenship, and we'll talk a little bit about the benefits of doing Sierra Leone citizenship, by the way, we'll talk all of that. But if you're interested in that and you want to know how to do it, if you're not as fortunate as I to have had parents that were both born there and, you know, lived there, then we're definitely going to go over what that process looks like today. You're going to be able to ask your questions. If you have any questions that I don't ask, I have a ton of questions for Aisha, a ton of questions. So we're going to go through all of them. If there's anything I missed, feel free to ask your questions. But yeah, we'll jump right into it. Before I do, really quickly. All right, cool. So just a couple of things really quickly. I want to make sure that you guys can hear me. So can you guys give me a thumbs up on YouTube and on Instagram so I know you can hear me? I'm using a Vodafone MiFi, brand new, off the presses today, because MTN, the box across the street, just like died. I don't know what happened. It's done. It's like finished, completely done. I had the MTN tech come out this morning. It was quite an ordeal today, just to say the least. But in any case, yes. So, okay. So C and Manelik both said they can hear. Great. iTuber notification gang. Nice. So you hit the notification bell, so you know every time a new video comes out. I say it on every video. I'm glad you did. All right, cool. So you got it. Patricia Matthews says, bless up, Brooklyn, New York. What's up, Patricia? I was in Brooklyn. I wanted to do a get together. I completely botched that, so I apologize to everyone. Maybe I should address that first before we get into today's content. This is what I'm going to do next time. I am going to give like 3 weeks advance notice. I'll make sure that everybody knows where to RSVP and how to RSVP, and ensure that you do RSVP before we confirm it. Because I didn't get enough RSVPs or any RSVPs, I didn't confirm it, and then there were other things happening. It was the day I was traveling. And then I come to find out like 2 or 3 people, actually more like 5 people, went to the location. So I really feel bad for that. And I want to apologize to you all who are listening, who are watching, who showed up. And of course, I wasn't able to do it. I did try to give enough advance notice to say it was canceled, but we will do things differently next time. I'm doing a whole US tour. I'm going to be in Atlanta. I'm going to be in New York, and I'm going to be in LA and in DC the next time I go back to the States. And so I'm going to do it like every other person who has content does it. I'll put together a list of dates, what days I'm going out, what cities I'll be in, the links for RSVPing, all of that. So it's clear and there won't be any issues. So, all right. So I wanted to get all that out the way. And let me run through a couple of things that I see in the comments and questions before we bring our special guest on. So iTuber says, what do we call people like me and Aisha, folks who became citizens this ways? I call us returnees. So yeah, I mean, some people call you guys returnees. Some people would call you guys diasporans. I mean, at the end of the day, you're dual citizens, right? Like that's first and foremost, that's who you are. But you know what? That content is, I don't want to answer that myself. I want to get maybe the thoughts from Aisha on this, if she's heard any way that she's been described. So we'll bring her on in a second. Okay, there's a lot of questions and comments based on our guests. So I think I'm just going to bring her up. Let me see. Okay, so really quickly, Miss P says hi to everyone. Linda said she could hear. Oh, sorry. Lenora said she could hear. Patricia says maybe next time we could link up. Yeah, I'm going to do a get together next time I'm in New York. Lenora says thank you for the apology. Of course. That is really my bad. So I really do apologize. iTuber says, I know they would just call you a Sierra Leone or a JC. Yeah, I get a little bit of both. So hometown is what some people are called who have been from and lived in Sierra Leone. People like me end up being called JC. Yeah. Okay. Quin Tessa says, couche, everyone. Couche, Quin Tessa. All right. So without further ado, let me bring Aisha on because I do want to give her a chance to tell her story and, talk a little bit about her channel and then get into some of these questions I have for her. So without further ado, here is Aisha. And so Aisha, can you tell me how you say your YouTube channel name? Is it Aisha Ladan?
Yeah, okay. Ladan's my middle name, and that's basically how I got started on social media. I converted to Islam about 20 years ago, and my husband had his last name, my dad had his last name, and I don't identify with any of them. So this year, actually, when I just got back from Sierra Leone, I legally changed my last name to Abdul Rahman. So because I didn't really identify with my last name, I just went by my middle name. So everybody was like, oh, I thought that was your last name. But it's just my middle name. Yeah.
Dope. Okay, dope story. And we'll get into that in a second too, because I think that's interesting. And you, as she just mentioned, you just got back from Sierra Leone. So you did the whole process we're talking about today. And I want to go through all of that because there's been so many questions and you've been helpful too, answering questions in the chat in the previous weeks. And so, when I was thinking about what content I wanted to do today, I thought it would be really good to have this conversation. There's a lot of folks from Sierra Leone or diasporans who are asking about this. And I've been bringing it up, but I don't know the details of this process because, as I mentioned, I went through another process. So really quickly, before we dive into that, I do want to mention that obviously getting your Sierra Leonean citizenship is good for Sierra Leone. And I definitely recommend everyone do it and go back to Sierra Leone even once you get your citizenship. But there are other ancillary benefits to getting your citizenship in Sierra Leone. And for me, I think the biggest one for myself was the fact that I can travel around West Africa without a visa. As an American citizen, you have to have a visa for every single country you visit in West Africa. So if you want to go to Senegal, and there's a lot of people going to Senegal, a lot of people going to Gambia, a lot of people going to Nigeria and coming here to Ghana, all of those require visas. And so if you wanted to do like a 3-month trip and travel to 3 different countries, you'd have to get a visa from each one. And if you were to get your Sierra Leone citizenship, you now have the ability to go to any one of the ECOWAS countries, which is Economic Community of West African States. I think it's 16. I've been corrected a few times on this live. I think it's the number is 16 different countries that you could go to without a visa. It also just makes it easier for a number of other different things. Like when I became a resident here in Ghana, just so many other things are a little bit smoother when you have ECOWAS passport. So I definitely recommend doing this process that we're going to talk about with Aisha today. Now, really quickly, before we move into the content, is there anything missing, like in terms of benefits that you heard about while you were in Sierra Leone or when you went through your process that I might have missed beyond obviously traveling to all those countries? Were there any other benefits to getting the ECOWAS passport that they mentioned to you?
Not specifically the ECOWAS passport, but there's another, I guess you could say, cousin of ours. He is like got his ear to the ground. So I guess they're working on an ECOWAS passport. So I don't know what's going to happen with our passports, but eventually I guess they want to have one passport for the ECOWAS in general. So it won't be a Sierra Leone passport, a Nigerian or Ghana. It will just be an ECOWAS passport. So I'm thinking if you already have your Sierra Leone or your Ghana passport, it's going to make that process even smoother because you probably just swap them out. That's what I'm guessing. I'm still learning. So I'm learning, when do I show which one? So I was going through like Clear and Global Check on my way home.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Can I see your passport?" And I was like, "Which one do you want to see?" I was like, "Because I got two now."
Mm-hmm. Lit.
So
Yeah.
I felt really good. A little arrogant, a little something, because I was like, and people now. So growing up, or not growing up, but after I converted to Islam, a lot of people assumed that Muslims are Arab. And so a lot of the mosques that I would go to were full of Arab people. And because I wear hijab, people would always ask me, "Oh, Sister Aisha, where are you from?" And I was like, "California." They're like, "Well, no, your parents." I was like, "My mom's from San Francisco. My dad's from Baltimore." They're like, "No, no, no, before that, your grandparents." And I'm like, "I'm Black. We don't know where we're from." So I've even had college professors ask me, "Where are you from?" So I was like, I one college professor, she was like, "Yeah, I feel kind of stupid for asking you that now that I thought about it." I was like, "Yeah." So as soon as I got my passport, I posted on Instagram. I'm just waiting for somebody to ask me where I'm from. Because in Sierra Leone, so someone asked, "What do they call us now?" Everybody tries to remind you consistently, "You're Sierra Leonean now." So it's not JC, it's not you're a diasporan, but like anyone that was a part of the Monuments and Relics Commission, any place that I went, any of the places that we toured, they were like, "Cousin." I have people that call me auntie. They're like, "You're Sierra Leonean now." And they're like, "Oh, you don't speak Temni?" I'm like, "No." Like, "You don't speak Creole?" I'm like, "No." They're like, "Okay, we got to teach you." So I feel very welcome. I don't feel like they make any difference, other than maybe when I shop. So I have to learn my bargaining skills, because I'm like, okay, but I try to be honest with them, and I'm like, "Look, I'm new Sierra Leone. I'm Sierra Leonean now. Y'all have to give me Sierra Leone prices." So, but I hear a lot of people complain, "Oh, I go to Africa, they overcharge me." I feel like if I can afford to pay more, I don't mind paying more. So it's not, you have problems everywhere you go. That's not a problem to me. It's not an obstacle when I travel to Ghana or if I go to Sierra Leone. Because I was actually just listening to a thing on NPR and they talk about minimum wage and having set prices for things. If I go to the store and I can afford $5 for something and somebody else can only afford $2 for something, I like the fact that both of us can get what we need. And if I can afford to pay more, sure, why not? That's just how I feel, because my dollars I know are circulating in the economy of Sierra Leoneans. I can't say that for here in the US. So here, you have to buy Black, things like that. There's, a lot of Lebanese and things in Sierra Leone, but if you're going into a place, who owns that place, they're Sierra Leonean. And I like that. So I know that my money is spent with my family, with my people. So if I gotta pay more, then oh well, I don't care.
Got it. There you go. All good insights. And I will say, yeah, I love that viewpoint. And I will say this too, right? Like if you go to any country, the locals pay different prices than those who are visiting, right? It's just how it works in any country. I've counted recently 32 countries out of the 200 and so that there are out there. And I would tell you that everywhere I've been where there are local markets, not like if you go to a Burberry store, everybody's paying exorbitant amounts of money, right? But like if you go somewhere where there's a local market, the local people pay one price and foreigners pay another price. One thing about being in Sierra Leone though is if you can negotiate in Creole, that's where you win. If I had to work on my Creole skills to work on my negotiating skills, and they were both learned at the same time, and it really just came from watching other people. It depends on where I am though. Some places I will still let someone else do the negotiating for me. I just know that I'm one-liners and sentences. Full paragraphs is where you get right. So I can speak Creole like maybe like a 3-year-old, like I can get by. But like if I need to speak a whole paragraph, that's where I get got. But yeah, to your point though, it's the law of supply and demand, and average income is about $50 per month, and people aren't charging you more than what you would get for that product in another country. They're just charging you more than what people can normally afford in that country, right? So if you're buying that t-shirt, now sometimes they can get crazy. Like a t-shirt might be like $30 and you got to be like, okay, come on. But for the most part, right, it's just charging closer to what market price would be anywhere else, because they have to make up for the fact that most people all around cannot afford it at those prices. All right. So we want to get into the content though. There's a lot to discuss, and there are a lot of questions, comments, and things going on. So okay, so Spirit Warrior says $50 is the minimum wage, not the average income. Everywhere I looked online tells me that it is $50 to $55 is the average income. If you could show me otherwise, Gerald, Spirit Warrior, let me know. But that's the way I understood it. That might be the minimum wage, but like I know nurses are paid about $50. And so, you know, I don't know if that's the minimum wage. Okay. But I don't even know if people in supermarkets are getting paid that much. So I would definitely want to look into that more, but that's my understanding. And I've looked at a number of different things. Even when we looked it up, it said Ghana was closer to like $75 US per month. So, you know, there are some differences for sure. I don't know what the minimum is, but that's what I understand that the average.
That's the same thing I read when I was doing my research, because I actually, so one of the things I wanted to do was to find ways that I could empower Sierra Leoneans, because a lot of people have asked me, oh, do you think you can?
There's a lot here. People are just saying, oh, there we go, I'm back.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, no, okay. So guys, if I lose my connection, Aisha, feel free to answer any questions that come up or any thoughts you might have, because it's going to happen. I already know it's going to happen. It just happened. Okay, so just a couple. Yes, she's saying hi to Stephanie. Spirit Warrior Gerald said hi. Spirit Warrior's thoughts were don't shop alone. I met Gerald, aka Spirit Warrior, in Sierra Leone while I was there in January, February. So we actually got a chance to meet up in person. He was at Mom's and I went to Mom's to visit. David says hello. What's up? What's up, David? Let's see. All right, let's just get into this, and then we can answer any questions as they come up. So, because I have a lot to go over, and I want to make sure that we're making the best use of the time. So first things first is, so I mean, we didn't even get a chance to do this because I just jumped right into it. But can you tell us a little bit about your channel, what it's about? I actually just checked it out and subscribed right before I emailed you to ask you if you would do this. So can you talk about your channel, and then we'll get into the questions and your recent experience. But I'd love for you to talk about it so that everyone knows what they can find out about you and your experience when they check out your channel.
So my channel is very new, kind of, sort of. So I did my first YouTube video probably back in 2017, and it was actually the results of my Ancestry.com results. So it was like, oh, you're this percent Nigerian, this percent Ghana. And that to this day has like my most views on my channel. So I actually am a library student. So I'm working on getting my master's in library science. And I'm specializing in genealogy and archives. So I have some videos on my channel that are like, why be a librarian, things like that. So I didn't really start taking my YouTube channel seriously until I got back from Ghana. So I did a series about Ghana. And then when I went to Sierra Leone, I did a series on Sierra Leone. So I'm still trying to figure out what type of content can I do that offers value when I'm not traveling. So basically my goal is to help people like me to reconnect to their history here in the US or their West African ancestry. So I want to do videos like how to speak Creole. So when you go to Sierra Leone, these are some vocabulary words that you're going to need. This is how you count the money, because it's very, very confusing. So I want to kind of mix it with educational and travel and kind of ancestry, genealogy type of things. You won't see a lot of channels like me, which is why I was like, okay, I could do this, because there's a lot of people that are doing ancestry type of things. They're not Black. So they're not talking about West Africa. So that's just a whole nother topic. So that's pretty much why I started my channel. And then after I came back from Sierra Leone, people are like, oh my gosh, I love your videos. I've been looking for answers. So I'm like, okay, people are liking what I'm doing. So I want to keep putting out things that are going to be valuable. So right now I have my Sierra Leone series going. I think there's about 5 more videos. They're all kind of batched and recorded and scheduled. So there's a new video every Tuesday. Tomorrow, that video will show my tour to Buns Island and my Temni naming ceremony that I did.
Dope. Yeah, that was a lot there. And I think that all of that is great stuff. So You just got a couple subscribers. Browncoat Blue just subscribed. So
Yeah,
shout out to
you.
Browncoat Blue. She loves research and genealogy. Said big ups. Alpha Baker said, your family watching from the UK. Shout out to you. Spear Warrior says to hit that like button. Yes, make sure you guys hit that like button. We want to make sure this information is shared with the masses for sure. So there was a question from someone on IG, and we're going to get to it in seconds. Hippie Amber says, if you have no ties to Sierra Leone whatsoever, am I eligible for citizenship? And I think this is what we're going to talk about today, because you may not know that you have ties to Sierra Leone, but you probably do, some way, shape, or another. Because, and just really quickly, real quick thing on this whole genealogy thing. I did a deep dive into this like 10 years ago, and all of these companies have different ways of determining DNA, and none of them tell anybody what they do because it's like their secret sauce. They're like, they act like tech companies where they have proprietary information, right? So none of us know how they determine what's what, right? But there's no real way to know that someone is, who's the first 100% Sierra Leonean person that you can tie DNA to. You don't know that. We don't have that. So they take clusters of people and they look at DNA and they basically say, from my understanding, they basically say, this looks close, this much like this, so you're this percentage that, right? And this, it looks this much like that, so you're this percentage that, right? And so that's how most of these companies do it. And so what you'll find is that a lot of us share a lot of DNA. And so it's likely that you will have some Sierra Leonean DNA in you. And I think the way African ancestry works, which Aisha can talk about a little bit more, is it's not about a percentage of your overall DNA. It's about the fact that you have some DNA connected to Sierra Leone, and then they give you a percentage based on that. Because that question came up, do you want to speak to that maybe a little bit in terms of what yours showed up as, so that people can understand how African ancestry does it?
Right. So to answer your question, you do have to have Sierra Leonean DNA in order to get your citizenship. So the biggest difference between Ancestry.com and AfricanAncestry.com, Ancestry.com does what's called an autosomal test. So you're going to get this percentage of that percentage of that. What African Ancestry does is they will do a maternal or paternal test. So it's a totally different type of DNA. It's a different chromosome that they're checking. So my maternal line has, and I have my certificate. So what they sent me is this. My maternal line has Fulani ancestry, and I don't know how they did it because it said 100% of everything. You have 100% DNA with the Fula in Guinea-Bissau and the Jola in Guinea-Bissau. I have 100% Mende and Temne of Sierra Leone, and I have 100% Crew in Liberia. That's just my mom, her mom, her mom, her mom, her mom, and it would include my daughter. So that's just the women, because that chromosome never, ever changes. So 500 to 2,000 years back, that never, ever changes. So I did the same thing with my dad's side, the paternal side. His is Igbo people in Nigeria on his mom's side. And I don't know how to pronounce the name of the ethnic group in Yoruba. So it's like Mambo or something like that in Angola. So that's his maternal and his paternal side. So if I would have only tested my dad, Sierra Leone is not going to accept those results. They're not going to accept my Ancestry.com results that say, oh, you have 2% Sierra Leone. Now, from what I heard, somebody did do something with Ancestry and was able to get citizenship, and they showed that. But if you guys go to my website, so aishaladon.com, I have the list of things that we're going to talk about today. And they say that you have to have DNA testing specifically from African ancestry. So I don't know if that's old. I don't know if that's been updated. I haven't gotten an update, but if it's updated, I will update the website. But that's what I've been told, is you exclusively have to go through African ancestry. And then when you do the citizenship, there's a list of tourism groups, and you have to go with one of those groups. And those groups have partnered with African ancestry. So yeah.
Yes. Good point. Yeah, I'm sure there are loopholes in everything, but I would go the route that Aisha's saying and definitely do African ancestry. From everyone who I've spoken to, it has to be African ancestry. I heard also that some people have done it through other means, but I haven't seen anything online for how you can do that. And so, yeah, I think just go through African ancestry because they have processes and systems in place anyway. You want to do it the way they're doing it, right? because I want to get into Aisha's experience because I think it's really interesting, and I want to see if I can go with one of these groups when I return in December. But let's just keep going with this. So you already mentioned you're from California, where your parents were from. We also mentioned a little bit about finding your roots and how you were interested in finding the roots by doing Ancestry.com. I did want to ask you about how you heard about the citizenship program. So how did you hear about the Sierra Leone citizenship program that you can do through African Ancestry?
So genealogy had been a hobby of mine for years. And so I'm always doing research. So I came across Dinah Samir's YouTube channel. And I was basically trying to get information based on my Ancestry.com results. So I was like, oh, let's learn about Ghana. Oh, let's learn about Nigeria. So in one of his videos, he had talked about getting his Nigerian citizenship. And so I just kept watching his videos. And then I think he had a video when he went and did his Sierra Leone citizenship. And then I was like, okay, I want to go to Sierra Leone. Once I got my results, I was like, I want to go to Sierra Leone, especially because they're offering citizenship. So he has a lot of videos on his channel where he talks about the benefit of having your citizenship, especially after the George Floyd incident. I really was like, okay, having another option if I don't want to be here in the US would be really nice. So just weighing my pros and cons and just doing as much research as I could. Then when I knew I was going to Sierra Leone, I looked at your channel. So I was like, how much money to spend in Sierra Leone money. So I did not find a lot of people that were talking about Sierra Leone. Everything's Ghana, 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 Ghana. Your channel was probably one of the only channels, I think it was a video with you and your sister. You're like, don't wear white shoes. And this is how much money you need to have in a day. So I was like, oh yeah, subscribe. This guy knows what he's talking about. He's Sierra Leonean. So I was just binging. Like, I don't really watch a lot of TV. YouTube is my TV. So I always love to learn and do research. So I'm always on YouTube. And then there's a guy that I follow on Instagram. He had got his Sierra Leone citizenship. So I just would ask him questions like, what was your trip like? What did you do? Things like that. Yeah.
Nice. All right. So this is all very good insight and information. A couple real quick things. There was a question on, can you get multiple citizenships if you're from a few different countries? And the answer is yes. I was once told, and I mistakenly said on this live many times, that you can only have 3. As far as I understand, you can have as many as you want. And then you think about the song that Jay-Z and Kanye did, where Jay-Z said, I have 5 passports, I'm never going to jail. And I never really put that together, but yeah, you can have as many passports as you want, as many citizenships as you want. There's a new guy on the internet, Andrew Tate, who has like many citizenships as well. So you can. I don't know how many you can be recognized as a citizen in those other countries, but you can have passports from apparently as many as you want. And so feel free, go for it.
Yeah. I think it also depends on the country. So I was looking at Guinea-Bissau. So one of my goals is to visit all of the ecowas eventually.
Okay.
I have my passport now. But because I have ties in Guinea-Bissau, I've also been doing some research lately. But I guess they don't offer citizenship. And if you do want to get citizenship, you have to give up your citizenship. So some countries don't allow dual citizenship. So I would have to give up my Sierra Leonean citizenship and my US citizenship to get citizenship from Guinea-Bissau. And that's not something I'm willing to do. So.
And that's a good point. And by the way, I was speaking as a person who started with an American citizenship. So you can, as an American, get as many as you want. But yes, Aisha's definitely right about that, because there are definitely countries that will make you renounce other countries' citizenship to become a citizen of theirs. And then there are many countries, Dubai and others, that have incentives for becoming a citizen, Japan and others too. So there's things you can look into. But yeah, so and all countries have some kind of benefit from So Browncoat Blue is saying, I think even the US caps us at 3. I read and saw different. I went to the website and it says on the us.gov, whatever it is, state.gov.us, whatever it is. It does not say that there's a limit, and it says you can have as many as you want. There are probably limitations to how you can be a citizen in other countries, but that's one of those things. But I would recommend keeping your US citizenship. I see some folks saying I have no problem giving it up. trust me, it is a privilege to have a U.S. citizenship. I live in Ghana. I get it. I'm a person who can tell you I left, and I'm happy that I left. But but having U.S. citizenship is a privilege, and it helps you with a lot of things that you may want to do in the U.S. in the future. So I would never give it up. If you want to get citizenship elsewhere that'll allow you to move around a little bit more easily, definitely recommend that. Would not recommend renouncing your U.S. citizenship. People give their lives to become U.S. citizens. See what people are doing crossing the border to try to get there, die in the desert, right, etc. I would not give it up. Yeah. All right, off on a tangent a bit. Let's get into some of these questions. So, so you heard about the program through basically YouTube research, right? Which I think is really interesting, and I'm happy that my video was helpful. That was with Mariama Forbes. She's another content creator based in the UK. Her and I met up last year in Sierra Leone, and we decided to do 10 things we wish we knew before coming to Sierra Leone. So it seems that it's been helpful to people. So I'm glad that people found it useful. All right, cool. So now let's get into the process of getting the passport, because this, I think, I've been curious about, and there are specific questions. Let's go back to one thing really quickly, where you said you don't know when, or you haven't figured out when to use your passport and how. Here is my trick. All right. And this is why it's a privilege to have a U.S. citizenship. I went to Egypt. I used my U.S. passport coming from Ghana to Egypt, because with your U.S. passport going to Egypt, you can get a visa on arrival at the airport for $25. If I was using my Sierra Leonean passport, there's like a bunch of hoops that I would have to jump through to be able to go to Egypt on the same continent. So also traveling around Europe, when you have a U.S. passport, you'll notice that sometimes it'll say these 10 passports, like Europe, bunch of Europe countries, U.S., Canada, Australia here, and then all else over here. So there are many benefits. Trust me, I just went to France, and and I will tell you there are many benefits to using your American passport. So I would say if you're traveling to certain places outside of West Africa and around the world in general, using your U.S. passport is the best way to go. Traveling within West Africa, I only use my Sierra Leone passport. So when I was in Nigeria, Ghana, here, because then you don't need your visa, and it's just easier to travel that way, and especially flying into Sierra Leone. So this is how I do it logistically. When I leave the States, I present my U.S. passport. When I land in Sierra Leone, I present my Sierra Leone passport, and I go through the Sierra Leone passport line, which is a whole lot shorter than the all others line. When I leave Sierra Leone, I present my my Sierra Leone passport when I'm leaving. When I land in the U.S., I present my U.S. passport. And that has been how I've done it over the last, 4 years or so, I guess, since I've had my citizenship. So just a point for everyone else who's going through this process, that's something you can think about.
The other thing you want to know is that Sierra Leone at the airport, they weigh your carry-on. I was like, what?
They do weigh
what
your
is
carry-on.
This? They weigh your carry-on. So they did not want to let me on that plane. Did not want to let me on that plane coming back. I was like, what? You're going to weigh my carry-on? My carry-on was too heavy. I was literally almost in tears. They had me unpack and repack like twice. I was like, they do not want to let me on this plane. So yeah, my guide Diallo basically like begged the flight attendant, please just let her go. Let her go.
Yeah, 12 kg. It can't be more than 12 kilograms. I now know the number because I've been through what you've been through on multiple occasions. So I'm familiar. Yeah, it is a pain. All right, cool. So let's get into the meat of this, because I think everybody wants to know the specifics for what is the process of getting your passport. So I went to your video where you went to this in detail, and in the description, I do have the link to Aisha's video already. So in the description of this video, if you're watching it now or watching the replay, after this is over, go watch Aisha's video. He goes into this in detail. So we could do a high level here. But like, do you want to go? Should I name the list, or do you have the list? I'm sure, right?
Yeah, I have a list. And then also, if you guys want the list, it's on my website, aishaladon.com. So I didn't put it on my YouTube to make you guys go to my website.
There it is.
So I was like, should I put this in my YouTube description? I was like, nah, make them go to my website. You don't have to give me your email or anything. And actually, my website's under construction, so it's my very front page. It's the first page, because that's all that matters right now for me. So the process of getting your passport is there's a list. There's a list of items. I don't know if you want me to go into detail or just in general.
Yeah, just high level, each one, like the letter of requests. What was that
Okay.
like? Ancestry proof, birth certificate, valid passport. I'm just looking at this list. It's long.
So the letter of request, that is a letter that I had to write, basically begging for citizenship. Just introducing myself, who I am, what my background is, and stating why I think I deserve citizenship, why I want citizenship, why I'm requesting citizenship. Proof of your Sierra Leone maternal or paternal lineage. And then it says specifically from African Ancestry, because African Ancestry has this kit number that they assign. So you don't have to present that. So depending on who you go with, how you present your paperwork may be a little different. So I'm actually going to do a video with Dinus on my channel to figure out and learn how he does his trip. So he was there when I went, but I didn't go with him. I booked my trip directly through AfricanAncestry.com. So
Okay.
Diallo is the person who started the trips. That's how they got started going to like Cameroon and Ghana and Sierra Leone. So he was my tour guide. Diallo is very, very organized. So actually what I did is I gathered all of my information, put it in one PDF, and you send it to Diallo. Diallo then takes the African Ancestry information that he already has, which has your kit number and your results that he gets from African Ancestry. And then he submits everything to the government on your behalf. That process makes it a lot easier. That way there's no back and forth. I did keep copies of everything in a physical form in a folder just in case, especially because I knew I was doing a name change thing. And I wanted my passport to have my new last name. So your kit, you don't have to present that. Your tour guide or from my experience, Diallo already had it. So if you go with someone else, that might be a little different. Your live birth certificate and proof of name change if it's necessary. So if you're married and you changed your last name, you need to have a marriage license or a marriage certificate just stating why your name is different than what's on your birth certificate. Your biodata page, which is that page on your passport that just shows like your picture and all your information. So you're going to copy that and scan it, take a picture on your phone, and provide that with your information. Now, the references part was probably the hardest part, because here in the US, we don't have our lawyers and doctors and bankers on speed dial. Some of us don't even have them. So what I did is I had a family friend. She's in the military, so I was like, okay, they'll like that. It looks fancy. I had her write a letter. I've known her since 7th grade. So I was like, hey, can you write this letter? It's a character reference letter just stating why she thinks I would be a good citizen. She'll talk about the volunteer work that I've done, my nonprofit, things like that. Just somebody who talks about your character. So you need 2 of those. It says that they have to be notarized. Mine were not notarized and they were acceptable. So if you can get them notarized, get them notarized. The person who writes it has to physically go and get it notarized, which is very complicated because oftentimes they also, want you there also. So my friend, she's in North Carolina. There was no way for her to be in North Carolina and me in California, because California does not do audio or video notary. Some companies will allow you to do notary online. So if you can get it notarized, get it done. But if you can't, I did not have a problem. My documents were not notarized and it stressed me out because I was like, please, please, please accept it. So the notarized thing is supposed to be done. Then you have to have your state and your federal background checks done. So here in the US, we call it a live scan. That's your federal background check to make sure you don't have any warrants or anything like that. For your state, you can go to your local police department. They'll do it right there on the spot. You just make an appointment. And then they'll, I think it's like 2 days, they'll call you back to come and pick up the results. So you have to provide that. And then it also said the government will also check the authenticity of African Ancestry certificate. So the certificate that I showed you guys has like the African Ancestry logo. So that's why I say African Ancestry is required, is because they have these things weaved in with African Ancestry. So, but I have heard, like Joe said, I've heard of people getting their citizenship using just ancestry.com. I would just say it's not the official way. Then the next thing is you do a citizenship ceremony. So I have that on my channel. Basically, it's teaching you the history of Sierra Leone, educating you on different opportunities that you can do. So they have different people from different ministries. So education, investment, business. I've seen someone made a comment, the government needs to clean up the land buying process so folks don't get scammed. If you go through the specific ministry that you're supposed to go through the government, you won't get scammed. So for me, you guys will see in the video that I have tomorrow, I did my naming ceremony at Tasso Island. So Tasso Island is a Temne village. The chief there has let us know that if there's something that we want to do that is going to help with the economy of Tasso Island, I can have land for free. So that's a big project that we're working on. We want to help with the empowerment of people on Tasso Island, get electricity, get some things like that. One of the personal projects that I want to work on is I want to have kind of like guest houses or like small bungalows so that when people go, they can stay, but they can also volunteer at Tasso Island and use that money to fund to employ people on Tasso Island. So once I, get everything together and get organized, I can present that to the chief and he will give me land for free, especially because he gave me his last name. So when I did my naming ceremony, Carbo is now my Temne last name. So he's like, yeah, you're my daughter. So my name is Rukur Carbo, which means firstborn. And then Carbo is my last name, but so Rukur is firstborn. So that's one thing that you can do to not get scammed. And that's what they teach you during the workshop is these are the direct channels. You leave there with contacts, with phone numbers, with WhatsApp numbers, with emails. People are constantly calling and checking on me to make sure, how are you doing? How's your Creo? How are things going? Do you have any questions? You definitely leave with a lot of resources and contacts. So I feel like I left with a whole new family when I left Sierra Leone. So I'm not in this fear that I'm going to get scammed because I have specific direct contacts of people that I was introduced for the different things that I want to do. So then after you do the citizenship ceremony, you'll go to the Monuments and Relics Commission. You'll do your passport application. They'll do your picture. You can bring some pictures with you. I brought like 5 pictures. They just staple them to your application, but then they also take a picture. They do your fingerprints, put you in the system, and then you come back the next day to make sure that everything is set up. And then when you do your final conferment ceremony, you do your oath. You stand up with the president. He does the oath as a big group. And he will officially hand you your passport. He was like, welcome home. Gave me my passport. So a lot of people have been asking me, you get your passport when you leave? I was like, yes. And the president himself handed it to me. So that's pretty much the process in a gist. It seems like it can be stressful and very daunting, which is why it was very important for me to get my videos done now because the next trip is coming in November. So I believe November 17th is going to be the next annual trip. So they go in April and then African Ancestry goes in November. So I wanted to make sure that I gave people plenty of time to get their paperwork and get things ready because last minute can be very stressful.
Yes, agreed. No, that's really helpful. So yeah, I mean, look, African Ancestry is probably the way to go. They have so many different resources, as you mentioned, Diallo. And then you mentioned there were like, you have to travel with one of the approved tour groups. I think you mentioned somewhere. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned African Ancestry with Diallo. Then there were 2 other ones. You said Dan.
Yeah. So Dan Fode, that is Dinus Amir's group. And then there's Travel is Life.
Tourism is Life.
Tourism is Life. And sometimes these groups have WhatsApp groups. So if you're part of their WhatsApp group, you'll know like when they're going to go, what they're working on, the different projects. So when I went with Diallo, we took feminine hygiene products and school supplies to the Women's Aberdeen Center. So each group may have different opportunities for you to volunteer and get involved in Sierra Leone. So I know one of the other things we want to do is like a beach cleanup. So once you go through your process, you'll have like an orientation, Zoom call or something, a WhatsApp group where you can stay in contact with everyone until you go on your trip. And that way you're kind of connecting with everyone that's going on the trip with you.
Nice. Okay. I wanted you to get through all of that before we answered some questions. I feel like that was going to answer a lot of the questions that people had. So I do want to break with some of the questions and comments that came from the group, because there's a lot. You guys started typing like crazy over the last like 5 minutes. So let me go in here and just read through some of them. But yeah, I think this is really, really helpful because it gives you insight into every single piece. So just to recap that just really quickly, and you definitely want to go to Aisha's video and then her website to get the rest of it. But there was a letter of request, ancestry proof, your birth certificate, valid passport, notarized character reference letters, background checks. There's a workshop in Sierra Leone. And I think those were the full list of things that you needed. She did mention that there's 3 different groups that you could potentially go with. There's the African Ancestry, there's Dan Foe, and then there's Tourism is Life. So again, if that went by too fast for you and you weren't able to take that all down, notes in the description, all of Aisha's information is there. You can go to her site and you can go to her video that I linked in the description. It's already there, where you can watch the video where she talks through her details as well. So all of that's going to be on her channel. And so I do want to ask you about your experience in Sierra Leone, but before I get to that question and a few others, I do want to just run across some of these questions that are here. So Hippie Amber on Instagram was asking if I could add you to the Instagram. I can't add to Instagram, unfortunately. I do this through StreamYard, and there isn't a way to StreamYard through a third party that allows Instagram on there. Instagram is stubborn. Facebook is stubborn in that way. Meta, whatever you want to call them. They let you use Facebook, but they can't let you use Instagram on these streaming services. So I cannot, unfortunately, show you Aisha through Instagram Live. And I know you guys are watching on Instagram Live. So if you just go to the link in my description, it will take you to the YouTube channel. And the most recent video that's going to pop up is this live. The live is there. So unfortunately, I can't do that now, but all of it will be there. So if you want to watch live and just listen now, or just hop over to YouTube now and watch it, you can join in live. Sorry, I didn't pin the link beforehand, but once it's live, I can't leave it, because once I leave it, it cuts the live off. So sorry about that. You guys can go back and check it. You'll see it. All right, cool. On that note, so okay, lots of questions and comments. I'm gonna try to get through as many of them as possible. There was a lot here. And you guys, if you guys know, reading comprehension is an issue. So I'm gonna speed through these. All right. Okay, so wow, it goes way back. Okay, so iTuber. Nope, we already read that. Okay, so Browncoat Blue said they subscribe to your channel.
Thank you.
Also,
yeah, you guys, please subscribe to my channel. My goal is to get 1,000 subscribers by January. So I have like 800 and something subscribers. So go subscribe.
Yes, everybody go subscribe after this video is over, of course. Don't leave here because you're gonna miss some gems. But once this is done, the link is in the description, her YouTube channel and her website, and all of that's in the description. So definitely click and subscribe. Okay, so here we go. Somebody says, I'm going to My Ancestry Chronicles with D. Sean J. Gandy says, I'm going to Sierra Leone this November to get my dual citizenship. I'm so excited. I love watching both your channels. I love your content. Great. I'm happy.
Enjoy it. You're going to love it.
Yes, chronicle everything. I'm going to hit up African Ancestry and see if they're down to let me come with them, because that's really what I want to do. I'd love to document this process for other people for my channel too. So I'm interested in doing it. So if anybody knows and talking to folks at African Ancestry, let them know. Hopefully I talk with both of you on my YouTube channel or on yours when I get back. Yeah, absolutely. Down to have these conversations. I want to tell as many people's story as possible. So just email me. My info is in my on the channel. You can find my email anywhere on any of my videos. And Aisha, I guess you can speak for yourself whether that you.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to have you on my channel. Yeah, I have a podcast too, so it's called Manifest Your Brilliance, and I'm going to start weaving in some genealogy stuff in there, because I want to interview people and see, now that you have your citizenship, what are you doing with it? What impact are you making? How's it, benefiting yourself and Sierra Leoneans?
Love that. So we definitely need to do something, because when I got my citizenship, I had no idea what I was going to do with it, and now I'm doing a ton of stuff. So we should definitely talk about that, because I think I could give some other people some insights, and then maybe I can do a video about that as well. I think I should talk through all the different things I'm doing in Sierra Leone now that I've Had my citizenship for 4 years, almost 4 years. Wow, it's crazy. All right, cool. So David McCrae says, is Rahman your original name or is that adopted? I'm asking because that name is from the Foray Bay area.
Oh, okay. So actually, Abdul Rahman is my husband's last name. So very similar to when you do your Temni naming ceremony, when you convert to Islam, they give you a name based on your character. So Rahman means the merciful. And Abdul just means slave of the merciful. So I'm not merciful. God is merciful. So I'm slave of the merciful. But yeah, that's how I got it.
Got it. All right. Patricia Matthews says, is there a direct DNA site on the continent where we can get our test kit from? Don't trust the Western DNA because they have a tendency to mix it up. I don't think so. I think African Ancestry is your best bet when it comes to this particular thing, right? I mean, I'll tell you guys this. I'm big on podcasts. I listened to a podcast that New York Times did, and they did a deep dive into the ancestry companies, and they talked about, it wasn't even like a hit piece. It was mostly good. But what they did mention was the Golden State Killer, who was a serial killer, is way off topic, but was a serial killer in the 70s. And through one of these ancestry databases, they were able to find him through this process. And so I do understand that these databases do get shared with other databases. And so the law enforcement group are using this. And I am not saying that everybody should be worried about it because law enforcement has it. I just know that sometimes they use tools without doing the full investigation from time to time. So that is something you can think about. However, it's very unlikely that if they do this, you end up somewhere that you're not already, right? And that it can negatively impact you. I know that there are false negatives and false positives and all that kind of stuff that happen with DNA. So I get it. But like at the end of the day, the potential positives that you could get from this far outweigh the fraction of a chance that you could get mixed up with the Golden State Killer, right? Like it's very, very, very unlikely. And I mean, Aisha, since you have studied this, maybe you could speak to this a little more intelligently than I can. But I think it's just unlikely. And like I said, the benefits can far outweigh it. So I don't know if you have any thoughts there, but do you want to speak to that?
So I see this issue a lot. So I'm in the Ancestry.com Facebook group, and a lot of us, this is our concern. So Ancestry.com does not sell your information. You are in a database. However, you can opt out and you can make your information private. So my dad grew up, did not know his dad. I found them through Ancestry.com because they once had their information private and then made it public. They would have never made it public. I would not have been able to find them. So when I go to Ancestry.com, it shows all my matches. If you haven't made your information public, I won't find you. African Ancestry, on the other hand, part of their marketing is they stress they do not have a database. They destroy your DNA. So once you do your test, they don't have a database. They don't tell you who you're matched to. They can't give you any more information. They won't even tell me who I'm related to in Sierra Leone. How did they figure that out? I don't know. So I have to do my own research. They destroy your information. And one of the things that Dr. Gina Page likes to say is when you're born, they take your DNA. You know, they do blood tests the day you're born. The hospital has your DNA. If they really want to get it, they can get it. You've done a COVID test. They have your DNA. There's so many different ways that they can get our DNA, and they probably already have our DNA. The thing is with the Ancestry and the databases is they don't have it tied to a specific name. You're usually like a number in the system. So with the Golden State Killer, they actually have forensic genealogists. That was something that I could do. Like I want to solve crime through DNA. They will actually look to somebody that you're related to find you, not specifically your DNA. So I say is don't commit any crimes. That's going to get you, it's going to get you arrested and you don't have anything to worry about.
There it is. Boom. All right. Very well said. And just educated us all on the differences between the few of them, because I have heard about them. There's some conspiracy theorists and some groups out there that talk about the sharing of information through other people. And the New York Times did one, and they said that a couple of them do share it. But the two that she just mentioned and the one that is relevant to this discussion, we already know that they destroy your DNA, which is really dope, because then you have nothing to worry about. And this is, it's our people who are most concerned, and we're the ones who are going to be doing this. So there you go. Yep. Awesome. Great information and insight. I didn't know that, so just learned something new today. Jaden, make sure you're capturing that. I told you that. That was a really good one. Okay, so Andy Brown said they subscribe to your channel.
Thank you.
Spear Warrior says the tour groups are registered with the Sierra Leone government. When we were talking about the tour groups before, I went to Salone Hidden Gems. Highly recommend them. Husband is local and wife is African American, who linked via DNA. Nice. The back to the 10 things I wish I knew before coming to Sierra Leone. The advice about not wearing white. Gerald Spear Warrior says he took on that advice. I think that's good advice. White shoes in particular.
Somebody also said they can tell who Americans are because they wear white socks. They're like, oh, if you travel, you go anywhere, only Americans wear white socks.
That is true. That is true.
I was like, oh, I need to start wearing black socks.
Well, you know, we used to joke like when we were kids, and people used to make fun of us because they're like, yo, African dads always wear church socks and sandals. And that was always the joke, like growing up, and black church socks with sandals was a thing. Like, definitely knew a few folks.
My husband does that. I make fun of him. I'm like, why are you wearing socks with your sandals?
It's and then the black sandal. Well, now people do Americans do wear white socks with sandals too. So, but yeah, that's a good point. Jeremy Campbell, I hope that you were able to find her channel now. I did post it in the comments here. So you should have been able to find the channel now. I posted all her information in the comments, but it's also in the description. You should check the description. Lenora says you're going to get your citizenship. Lenora says they're going to get her citizenship in Sierra Leone in November. Nice. Over 5,000. Okay. This is interesting. Patricia Matthews says over 5,000 African Americans left already in the first exodus to Africa. Many more are leaving America. Yeah, probably true. I mean, I know at least 5 people who in 2016, guess why that is. In 2016, left the United States and went to West Africa. We're not going to get into politics here, but these are people who were already citizens of Sierra Leone, and they all moved back. People who worked previous administrations, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I mean, I saw it from 2016, and it obviously has increased over the last couple of years.
It's definitely a goal of mine. My goal is to be on the continent at least half time. And if not, I plan to live on the continent and come here to visit. That's my goal.
Nice. Yeah, all of my friends in Sierra Leone, that's how they do it. They live on the continent. They come to the U.S. to visit. I never thought that my life would be this way, where 75% of my time is on the continent and then 25% of it is elsewhere. And as of, I don't know, 3-4 months ago, that is now my new normal. But yeah, I mean, I visit the US for certain things. But yeah, home for me is in Ghana for now. It could be anywhere else on the continent, but as of right now.
And I tell everybody, anything you want is on the continent. We have beautiful beaches, you have nightlife, anything you want, it's on the continent. People are like, oh, I'm going to Greece, I'm going to Europe. I'm like, I'm going to Sierra Leone, I'm going to Ghana, I'm going to Nigeria. So, and you make an impact when you spend your money. Who are you giving your money to? So when you shop, I spent a nice deal of money in Sierra Leone. It matters to me what I spend my money on and who's getting it.
There you go. Ubuntu says, what company did you go with to get your Sierra Leone citizenship? It was African Ancestry, right? That was what you said. I guess I should let you answer these questions when they're asked to you. Force a habit. Sorry. Okay, so Browncoat Blue was responding to, I think this was something that someone else had said earlier on, and I had saw it while we were talking. Yeah, don't give up your U.S. citizenship. I know we can get fed up sometimes, get upset. Some crazy things are happening in the U.S. I get all of that. Trust me, it's better to have more than to renounce one. Don't walk around with less. Have more, because you can. Just do it. Trust me on that one. A couple people are saying don't give it up. Stephanie Rowe also said it. Okay, Browncoat Blue just follows up with, you paid a high enough price for it. make sure at least get the benefits. Okay, here's one. Major issue I have with being a U.S. citizen is having to pay and file taxes no matter where you live. That is true. That is true. What I will tell you all is get an accountant that you use every year, someone that you trust, and they will help you minimize your tax burden. Okay? I am not an accountant at all, and I believe in paying taxes. I'm a lefty liberal. I'm that guy. But I like to see my tax dollars at work. So, you know, it did upset me to live in LA and to be paying exorbitant amount of taxes and not see it at work. I was not happy about that. And yes, you do have to pay taxes no matter where you live to the United States. That is just part of the process of being a U.S. citizen. It kind of, it is what it is. Yeah, but start a business, and everything through your business is a write-off. And so you can read. I mean, I'm not a tax accountant, but I'll just quickly say this because I've done this for a few years now, about 6 years. If you have a business and you have business expenses, remember, talk to your accountant about this. All of your expenses go as total your total taxable income. So if you had, let's say you made $100,000 this year, because I don't do math in public, so we're just going to use like round numbers. If you made $100,000 this year, but your business happened to lose $40,000, your taxable income is based on $60,000, not on $100,000. Yeah. Again, I'm not a tax accountant, but if you understand that, go talk to an accountant. They'll work those details out with you. Okay. I'm not going to give any advice here, but just telling you that's what I know to be true, because I myself have reduced my tax burden by having a business. Okay. Okay, Browncoat Blue just backed me up on the you're right, Joe. By the way, it's J-O-E. I know it's Joannis, but I do spell it J-O-E for all those out there.
Good to know.
Because that version of Joe is usually for women. The J-O-E usually is used by men. Obviously, it's usually for like Joseph. I know my name is Joannis, which is also looks like a woman's name. I get it, but I do go J-O-E, Joe, just so you know. But Browncoat Blue did back me up on the you can have no limit for the US because you had just looked it up. It is true. I had just checked like last week myself. Patricia says, once I'm on the continent, I will not leave it anymore until I'm dead. Okay. I feel you. She says she's done with the West. Patricia is done with the West. All right. Listen, I understand. I get it. I will say this. All of my family and friends who live on the continent still come to the US for doctor's appointments, to give birth, to all of those kinds of things. There are many places on the continent that are really good with those things. I happen to not live in a place where I am 100% confident based on who I've gone to, because the doctors that I use are the best in the world, not just the best in the States, right? So I have always, like, I've had knee surgery by the same guy who did Russell Westbrook's knee surgery. And if you watch basketball at all, this guy has torn his knees up and still, well, not this last year, but prior to this last year, plays at a very high level. And I can't find a knee surgeon who is as good as that guy, right? So I go to that guy. My primary care physician is one of the best in the world. He's in Beverly Hills. Like, I spare no expense, and I go to the best of the best. And so I would recommend, for those reasons, depending on who you are and what your ailments are, and, if you have any things, like I have a blood deficiency and I go to a specialist, a hematologist who's the best of the best at this, who works at UCLA. For me, that's why I have to keep my U.S. citizenship. One of the reasons, plus all the other reasons, but I can go back there. I can go back to her, and I can go back to see who I need to see, which I did when I was in LA, to just ensure that all my levels are normal. And if there's anything that goes wrong, they know what to do. They've seen and witnessed everything. So I mentioned that because I think it's important. I love being on the continent of Africa. And like I said, I will spend most of my time here, but I do go to the States for certain things. And that's one of them. All right.
Yeah, most people do. Even like the government higher ups, people that can afford it will go to the West for their medical stuff.
Good point. Lenora says, thank you for the information, Joe. And Aisha, because Aisha's the one giving all the good information here. Spear Warrior says they didn't weigh my carry-on the way back. Air France. You might have gotten lucky with Air France, because I'll tell you what, no matter where I've flown, who I've flown with, they hit you with the, it costs you extra to take that bag. It's 15 kgs. Alpha saying we're both children of the Mali Empire. That is true. Shout out Mansa Musa. Flower Child says best thing you can have as an American is their passport. Yes. All right, let me try to get through this as much as possible. iTuber says love that folks can get their citizenship, but it's kind of silly that one's mother or brother would need a separate test to confirm being blood relative isn't good enough. Is there a science to that, Aisha? I know you study this.
Yeah. So the thing is, so my maternal ancestry, so I have a brother. My brother will have the same maternal ancestry as me and paternal ancestry as me. So, but they want it to be your kit and your information for citizenship. So one of the things that I'm trying to learn and figure out is, now that I have my citizenship, can my children now get citizenship? Because officially I'm a Sierra Leonean. So, you know, how Joe got his citizenship because his parents had citizenship. Can my kids now do the same thing? So I think because this is a very new process, they've only been doing this for 3 years. I think they're gonna figure it out. So my brother, he'll be able to get citizenship. Okay, so this is the other thing. When I took my DNA test, I could order certificates that have whoever's name I want on them. So that's the other thing, is I could order my brother's certificate that has his name and he's connected to my kit. And I just have to say, this is my brother. So I believe if he wanted citizenship, he can say, this is the kit number, my sister took this test, and this is my certificate. Because so my husband did his, and he did his maternal and his paternal, and he got 6 certificates, one for, you know, siblings and his parents. I believe they can then take those certificates and that kit number and apply for citizenship. So you could try it. I will contact African Ancestry and ask them. I think it's possible. I think you can do it because it's your sibling. It's not like a cousin or somebody else that has a different father or a different mother. So as long as they're connected to that same person, to that same grandmother that you have, or that same grandfather that you have, they should be able to use your kit number and just get a certificate with their name on it. I think it's like $15 to apply for citizenship.
Boom. Yeah, I would imagine so. But again, yeah, definitely check with African Ancestry to be sure. But yeah, I mean, just to be very clear, right? If it's on your mother's side, don't do your half brother that's on your dad's side, right? Like, right. Obviously that's not going to help, right? That's not going to work. Right. So yeah, it's really helpful. Okay, so Stunning Empires. I love these names of these YouTube channels. For references, it can be associates and friends as well. It doesn't have to be a professional, just to be a notarized character reference letter. So this is going back to the character references that Aisha mentioned for the application process for the citizenship. Mm-hmm. So that's good.
Yeah, definitely. I would just say pick somebody, you know, that you think will impress them. That's why I picked my friend that was in the military. And then I also had my imam from my mosque do a letter. Somebody who has kind of like an impressive title. I think that's what they're looking for. But I don't know.
Yeah. Just to be safe. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, I think this is great for tourism, and I'm sure they're probably lenient on some of these things, but just anytime you're applying for anything, just always do the most that you can to get the best possible result, right? So just for future reference on anything. Okay, Stephanie Royal said, my sister did a real African ancestry, and I don't know everything that it said, but it said Fulani, Hausa, Tika, Bubi, but on 23andMe, it says Senegambia. So the 23andMe won't count. I know 23andMe is a good test as far as I understand. Ann Wojcicki, who happens to be the sister of Susan Wojcicki, who runs YouTube. That's a whole family of very impressive folks. But 23andMe doesn't count for this, right? So now, I don't know with Fulani, right? Because that's a traveling tribe. Is that one that is considered one that they use for Sierra Leone? I don't know. Do you know?
So yeah, so if you have, as long as it says Sierra Leone, it doesn't matter what tribe. So there's Limba people in Sierra Leone. There's Creole people in Sierra Leone. There's Fulani people in Sierra Leone. So as long as it says Sierra Leone, it doesn't matter what tribe it is. So mine just happens to be Mende and Temne, but there were people who had other ethnic backgrounds that were still in Sierra Leone. So as long as it's Sierra Leone, it doesn't matter what tribe it is.
So it tells you tribe and country. It doesn't just tell you tribe.
Yeah, it tells you tribe and country. Yeah.
Got it. There you go. I know Hausa is northern Ghana, and Nigeria, of course, more known for Nigeria. So that's the only tribe outside of Fulani that I know from the ones that you mentioned here. But yeah, so you'll have to check with that. And if it's your sister, if it's your full sister, then hopefully she did the certificate for you. If not, then you'll have to probably do the test yourself, right?
And you can always buy your certificate later. So if she did it and she got her certificate, she can order a certificate later. So you can go online, you can order t-shirts, you can order a certificate. They'll just ask you for the kit number that this certificate is associated with. So maybe have your sister order the certificate for you with your name on it.
There you go. All right. Stephanie Royal says you can go to UPS to get something notarized. Yes. So the person who's doing the notary, also you can have a notary come to you. I've definitely had to get things notarized. You can just Google Notary Public, and there'll be people who have those services. So, whoever it is that you're having do this for you, maybe make it easy for them. If, here's what I would say about anything. Anytime somebody's writing a letter of recommendation for me, I write it for them. I send it to them, get their agreement, get them to sign it so they don't have to do any thinking about it. Obviously write it in a way that would make sense for them in terms of their relationship with you, right? Don't embellish or say anything crazy because they're not going to feel comfortable signing it. But it makes it easy if you can do that. And then also maybe even have the Notary Public go to them to make it really easy for them. I have 13 letters of recommendation that I did, or recommendations that I did on LinkedIn, and I wrote them all. People just had to agree, copy and paste, and send it for me. So it looks impressive, but I wrote all of them. I made myself look really good. So if you're gonna get any kind of letter of recommendation, I also had to do it for EcoBank, right? For EcoBank, you needed to have a letter of recommendation for somebody who already has it. Obviously, it should be something that they feel comfortable putting their name behind, but it just makes it so they don't have to think about anything, right? You can write the letter of recommendation, give it to them. If they're okay with it, they'll sign it and go. Maybe they'll make some changes, whatever. But that's my recommendation. If you're worried about how long it's going to take for somebody to write it for you, write it yourself and send it to them. And if you're wondering, how do I write a letter of recommendation? Google is your friend. There are millions of letters of recommendation on Google, whether you go to images and you copy and you bring an image down and you retype it, or you just click, and there are like many different vlogs and blogs and websites where they write letters of recommendation for all kinds of different things. So there is a helpful hint. I have done probably 25 or 30 total letters of recommendation, all for myself, but they came from other people, including college.
I Googled it. Mix and match some things and said, hey, this is how you know me, agree, sign. It just makes it easier for them.
Oh, there it is. Browncoat Blue also said banks will do your notary for you. Okay. Patricia Matthews says, love you all. Stephanie Rose says, I have buddies in Ghana. Yeah. I mean, it's good to make friends here. I have some people here too. Spear Warrior says, was amazing to have president give passport. Let me tell you guys something. I didn't get the passport from the president. I got it from the office. So I think that's kind of cool. You guys get a benefit that I didn't get, right? BO did not come to me and say, here with the passport. I didn't get it from him. So yeah, that's kind of cool. You guys get a chance to meet the president.
Yeah. So the only president I've ever met.
Yeah, I haven't met one yet. I met the president of the National Honor Society in high school. That was about it. All right. So, all right. Quin Tessa says November 19th. Is that when you're going, or is that when African Ancestry is going? Because that'll be an interesting, so we can share that date.
Yeah, that's when African Ancestry is going. Yeah.
Okay, that's when they're going. All right, nice. Alpha Baker says Fula and Mende Mandingo mix in the Mali Empire. Also Fula Timni mix in Guinea and Sierra Leone. She's on point. Okay, so here's some gems, I guess, from Stunning Empires. Hidden Gems, Salone Hidden Gems. Dory Toure is one of the most affordable tour operators. There you go.
So one thing I will say is, depending on who you go with, so on my website, on the list, it has a link to all the tour operators. So it takes you to this website and has all the tour operators. So one thing I noticed is Dynast is cheaper. I think African Ancestries is on the more expensive end. So if you go directly with African Ancestry, I think it's more on the expensive end. I will say your experience is going to be different depending on the group you go with. Your experience is going to be different depending on what you pay for. So seeing the other groups and what they did and their experience and talking to them about their experience. So some people, they had matching outfits, had special outfits made that was included in their package. Some of us took a ferry boat ride from Lungi to Freetown, while others took a 3 to 4 hour bus ride. Some of us did a nice lunch at Buns Island. Some people didn't. Some people stayed the night in Bow. Some people didn't. So your experience is going to be different. And I'm assuming it's going to be different because of the price you pay.
Right. Of course. Absolutely. By the way, you spent the night in Bow, right, Aisha?
Yes.
Where did you stay?
I stayed one night in Bow. It was supposed to be like 2 or 3 nights. We stayed at something Paradise Garden.
Okay.
It was not Paradise.
Yeah, I don't know Paradise Garden.
It was not Paradise.
I've done 2 videos on hotels in Bow. So anyway,
and it's
go
really
watch.
interesting because Bow is very, very clean. I feel like it's a lot cleaner than Freetown. Like you don't see, it's just very clean and organized. And I was like, oh, this is really nice. It wasn't Paradise. That's all I'm going to say.
We'll get into that because I know we're like an hour and 16 minutes into this, but let me read through some more of these really quickly, and I do want to get into your experience being in Sierra Leone because I've been going to Sierra Leone. I've been 8 times or something like that, and I've stayed now extended periods of time. I'm interested to hear what is like for you. Okay, so let me see. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else I want to. What is the website to get your federal police report? Did you have to get the background check? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so just do live scan. It's going to be different depending on which state you're in. So every state will have a different, but if you just do live scan, Google live scan, and then the state you're in, and it will give you places that are local to you that you can go and get it done. So I got mine done at like a USPS, UPS that also did notary, also did my federal background check.
Nice. Yeah, and I've done a Sierra Leone background check, which is interesting. That's an old process. I'm gonna video that. I'm gonna put that video up. I don't know. I did it last year. I'm gonna put that video up at some point in time in the future. That was an interesting process. Okay. What is Spirit Warrior saying? Salone Hidden Gems was reasonable company to get citizenship. Okay. Kels says, "What's up? What's up, Kels? Kels, just last week I was in the Bronx at Kels's place doing a live with him, and here I am back in Ghana. What's up? He did live with me last week. He's the guy who got me to do a YouTube channel. So you can thank Kels Acosta for me having a YouTube channel. It's all David McCrae just subscribed to your channel, Aisha.
Thank you so much. Thank you, David.
Okay. So Manelik just subscribed to your channel too. I love connecting with others who are interested in their family legacy. Nice.
Thank you. And if you guys have channels, I'm going to come and check on who's subscribing. So if you guys have channels, I will subscribe. Thank you so much for subscribing.
There we go.
Somebody asked, am I the firstborn? I am firstborn. So it's just me and my brother. So during my naming ceremony, I have a video. Diallo is going to talk about that. Everybody who got a name, it fit us so perfectly. So I am actually firstborn. So I don't know how. I have a Mende name and a Temne name actually, but I am actually the firstborn. So
there it is. I also have a Mende name, but I didn't have a name. I didn't have a naming ceremony. Oh. Well, I guess I did. Technically, I did, but I don't remember it because it happened so early in life. But Pulnado, yeah, is what I've had.
What does it mean?
Like pulling you out of the door, like presenting you. Pulnado is like Creole for like presenting you to the world. So like, But yeah, I was so young. I obviously wouldn't remember it. I was like a baby. But
Nice. I want to do them for my grandkids now. So there's things like that, like things that you learn that you can implement into your life and into your lifestyle. So
yeah. And to bring back your culture that has been removed for so many generations, right? Which is really dope. Okay. Spearwarrior asked an interesting question. How many African Americans are returning to the US because they didn't make it? Listen, I'll tell you this. Okay. I know we said 5,000 have left. I'm sure a percentage of them have moved back. Here's what I would say. What's important to understand is I think people make snap judgments and decisions without really fully thinking through lifestyle change, right? Like even when I made my decision to move, there are certain things that I didn't have in mind. So you want to do as much research as you can before you move anywhere. I mean, listen, I moved to LA when I had locks, without thinking about who was going to do my locks in LA. And I had dusty locks for like 4 weeks. I didn't know who was going to do them, right? And it was just like, oh yeah, I'm just moving to LA. And I think people do that, make those kinds of decisions when they're leaving the country. And you really need to think these things through. You definitely want to visit first, visit multiple times. I recommend build a little bit of a network, join groups, just so that like, especially if you're like an outgoing person, you're an extrovert and you need to be around people. It's definitely wise to build a network and meet other people, because once you have their friend groups become your friend groups, and then you become a part of like larger crews.
I would say I'm an introvert, and I would say it's probably even more important if you're an introvert, because you go there and you're on your own and you don't know how to get your SIM card, how to change your phone, how to get Wi-Fi, how to pay your bill. Like I would say even as an introvert, you need that network.
100%. I happen to be lucky enough that I had people, I have 2 guys on the ground, which I mentioned in my 10 things video, who do different things for me that I wasn't able to do. Now I can do almost anything myself because I've been going so often. I spend so much time there. But in general, I have people who do certain things for me so that I don't have to deal with the rigmarole of like waiting in line for 3 hours for something, right? I have someone who'll do that for me. But anyway, I definitely recommend visiting first, building a network before you come, for sure. And my channel, by the way, I like to talk about the things that go wrong. Like, for instance, I came home, my internet wasn't working. And I've been so lucky that Vodafone has decided to work for most of this call. I'm impressed, actually, because
you're in Accra? Are you in Accra?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
And Vodafone.
So when I went to Accra, I used Google. I think I was telling you, I used Google Fi.
Yeah, you did say that.
And it worked. It worked pretty good, because my son has been considering moving to Ghana, and he's like, "Mom, how's the internet?" Like that's all he cares about. He's like, "If the internet can work, I can live in Ghana." And I'm like, I think it's about 4G, but I used Google Fi when I was there, and I used it when I was in Sierra Leone as well. So.
Okay. Interesting. This is new. A new development.
So it works really good in Accra, but I was in Elmina for most of the time. Accra's just really busy. So I was only in Accra for about a week, but I was in Elmina for 3 weeks, and it still worked out in Elmina. And then I was in Takoradi for a little bit, and it worked. So.
Okay. Where did you buy the Google Fi data though? Were you buying it and
just on Google? You just go to Google and they give you a SIM card for your phone. And that's it. It's unlimited data.
Did you get your SIM card in the States though, or were you able to get it here locally?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, but I like the idea. Okay, look, okay. I would love to say support the local companies, but I'll tell you this right now. If Google Fi works, at least have it as a backup. Okay.
Right.
Because I'm going back to the States in October. I am absolutely getting Google Fi. I'm already convinced. No question. Because today was a day. All right. So back to the story about people not making it. You have to have a lot of patience. I was in Vodafone for a little over 2 hours this morning. And that was after waiting about 2 hours for the MTM tech to come here and then to tell me that the internet was not going to work, probably for another 2 weeks. And so, patience is a virtue, and you have to have patience being here on the continent. As Aisha said, everything is here on the continent. But one of the things you need to come with is patience. Things just don't work at the speed in which you want it to. There aren't systems in place that move at the speed in which you're used to living in the West. And so you do have to be patient. So I do want to recommend that for anybody who's coming here. No matter how many people you talk to, no matter how many times you come here, your patience will be tested. And so as long as you're willing to work on your patience, then everything's going to be fine. I look, I knew that this was happening. I wasn't allowing it to frustrate me though, because what can I do? Right. This is the way this is going down. Like I got home yesterday and I thought about all the things I could have done differently, you know, and at the end of the day, there was nothing I could do to change the circumstances. So I just went about it as I was. And so I would definitely recommend being patient. I'm going to say it as many times as possible so you guys get it.
And having that backup plan is what makes it what makes and breaks people. Yeah. So you have to have a plan B and a plan C, because something's going to go wrong. So you have to say, well, I really want to be here, so therefore I need to do X, Y, Z to make that happen.
Boom. Are you a streamer? Because you have a streamer chair. I just realized that. I mean, this is way out. This like that's a random question. But that's definitely
so
like
I have I'm not a streamer. So I have a nonprofit. It's called Legacy Design Studio. And my headquarters is in a virtual world called Second Life. So it's a 3D virtual world. And I am a resident of Second Life. I've been there for probably like 12 years. So I am a fake gamer. I like to design and create things. So I have an art gallery, a studio there for Black History Month. I'm going to probably share a lot about Sierra Leone. So that's, my game chair is just really comfortable and it makes me feel cool. So.
Got it. Yeah,
I have some games, but I don't know how to play them very good. Like I bought Cyberpunk. I cannot drive.
Yeah, so I don't game at all, but I know the streamers and the gamers all have these style of chairs. Mm-hmm. I do not. You should see the.
They're very comfortable. It's very comfortable seat rest. Okay. I spent a lot of time on the computer, and that's why I invested in this chair, because sitting here for hours and hours, it's definitely needed.
All right. Well, I need to figure it out myself. Okay, cool. A couple things really quickly. I sorry, we just keep going off on tangents, so I'm gonna get through this quickly. I was just in Gambia a few days ago. I got Mandinka Ancestry and Mandinka Village. They didn't want to let me leave. Even the Mandinka officials at the border show love. Nice. I'm glad to hear you had a good time. Spear Warrior spent almost a band on clothes. For those of you who aren't aware of the colloquialisms, that is $1,000, ladies and gentlemen. Spear Warrior was $1,000 on clothes. Yeah, I can see that happening too. I myself did not, because I have a few.
In Sierra Leone, and well, I would say in West Africa in general, they be dressing. I felt so underdressed. And you know, on Fridays, everybody wears traditional clothing. I knew that from going to Ghana, so I had to be prepared. Yeah. So that's one thing I do notice, is that we are very underdressed. So that's one of the things that I brought, you know, back to the US with me, is to be, if you dress, that's one of the things Diallo was like, depending on how you dress, they'll treat you different in the airport. So I can see you easily spending that amount.
Yeah. Afaratu Payne says, I have Sierra Leone Ancestry as well, I suppose, to go for citizenship in November. Definitely go. Get your dual citizenship. Stacey Paris says, I just left Ghana, which is my first time on the continent. The experience changed me to the core. I head to Dakar next month. I'm planning I'm planning to move to the continent maybe in the future. Awesome. Yeah, definitely would say going to my experience going to Ghana, it was a whole nother experience beyond being in Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone felt like going home. Ghana hit me to the core differently because of the history component, the history element, because they did a really good job of preserving the slave castles and telling those stories. And, you know, being Black American, at least that's how I identified myself, right? Growing up in the States and being born in the States, my experience in terms of the slave trade was specific to what happened in the States, not what happened before. And it gave me a lot more context for what could have happened in my family history in Sierra Leone, hearing about how the local women would sometimes marry some of the military guys just to protect their kids from having to go into slavery, or, 60 million people who were enslaved, but 12 million estimated actually like made it and lived in the States, right? Those kinds of numbers, hearing that like 48 million people died in the process, not even getting to the United States. Like, I didn't know those numbers. I had never heard of that. I never, so those kinds of things I think are really, really important. So I would definitely recommend making that trip to Sierra Leone and to Ghana, and especially going to Ghana for the history of, you know, the enslavement of Africans from that perspective. And in Gambia and Senegal in particular also has some really good stuff around that too. I mean, my experience is probably a little different because I also had a connection in Sierra Leone. I mean, Aisha, how would you say it impacted you? I mean, you've been to Ghana before, but each of your trips, I should say.
It was life-changing. Ghana is why I started my nonprofit. Ghana is why I switched from being a student of library science as an art curator to genealogy and ancestry. It was a hobby. And then I was like, yeah, no, I have to do this full time. Ghana will break you. Ghana will break you. So it's just taking the tour of, and I think it's almost intuitive. So when I went to Cape Coast, it was very educational, it was very interesting. But when I went to Elmina, it felt personal. It felt very, very personal. I also did Bunce Island. So I don't know if you've been to Bunce Island. So Bunce Island in Sierra Leone, it felt very educational. But then we did like a prayer. So Diallo did a prayer, and then Francis, he works with the Monuments and Tourism. He did a prayer in Creole. I was just like, ugh. Yeah. So both experiences, I cannot imagine that someone would go to the continent and leave the same. I don't see how it's possible. And one thing that I try to stress to people is, you know, there's Black people here that are like, oh, I'm not African. And then you have people that are from the continent. They say, oh, the enslaved Black Americans. Black Americans were not enslaved. Africans were enslaved and brought here. We have the same ancestors. It's just a chain that was broken in the middle. And I feel like my job is to relink that chain. We share that same ancestor. They were our African ancestors that were enslaved and brought to not only the Americas, you know, but all of these different countries. So it's not, oh, the Black Americans this and the Black Americans that. No, we're Africans. And I don't even call myself African American. I am American of African descent. That's how I say it, because Africa is a continent. It's not a country. So, you know, Joe is a Sierra Leonean American. He's not African American. That's not a thing. So I just try to remind people that, you know, we are literally like, we are Africans. Those are our cousins. That was our family on both sides. So there's always this conflict of who's this and who's that in the story. It's one story. It just has two different angles, two different experiences. So that's the thing I try to look at, is this is what we were going through at that time. What were people on the continent going through at that time?
Boom. Well said. One other thing I'll add is the first time I came to Sierra Leone as an adult was 2010. And I came back with a renewed sense of purpose. Like I used to always say I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I was 30, didn't reach that goal, obviously. But, you know, I didn't have a reason for why I wanted to make that kind of money, right? It was more vanity. And I wasn't on a path to get there because the why didn't make me cry, you know? And they say if your why makes you cry, then you're willing to go through any obstacle to make it happen, right? And so for me, that was where my life changed completely. I was 25 years old. Can't believe it's that long ago. And it changed my life forever, right? So I would absolutely recommend going to the continent. It's going to be different for everyone. You know, for me, it reconnected me with who I actually am, you know, who my parents were and where they're from, and my direct lineage, at least over the last 100 years or so. And it really changed my perspective on the world and how I think about things. And since living on the continent, I also see the world differently, way different than I did. And I had visited so many different countries before, but actually living on the continent has changed my perspective. So yeah, absolutely, definitely make sure you come to the continent. All right, let's run through a few more things. And then I promise I have some questions to ask you. There's so many more comments. This is really good. People are really engaged today. This is really good, nice. Aisha. This is really good. All right, so Africanus says, Africanus says, Joe, how does the citizenship process described today compare to the process for people who have an extended family still in Sierra Leone who can vouch for their lineage? So it can't be extended family. It has to be parents, first of all. So it couldn't be like even grandparents, I don't think. As far as I understand, it has to be your parents. who were born in Sierra Leone in order for you to get your citizenship. But okay, if your parents have your citizenship, Aisha's checking on this, and I actually want to check on this. Can you give it to your kids once you're a citizen? So here was the process. I mean, to be honest with you, it was pretty simple. I just had to have passport pictures, and then I had to have proof that they were born in Sierra Leone. So I had marriage certificate and birth certificate, because on your marriage certificate in the United States, it says your country of birth. And on your birth certificate, obviously, it says your country of birth. So I happen to have one of each for one of my parents. I took it, and I had passport photos. They did my biometrics, and I got my passport in 3 days. So that is how it's different, right? It's much faster. Now, look, not everybody can get it in 3 days. You know, you got to know whose palms are greased, etc. Usually it takes about a week. But again, I got people on the ground, so they help expedite the process. And it was during the Christmas holiday, too. But in general, if you have both your parents born there, it takes about a week. You can get it done.
I think there's about 3 or 4 different ways you can get citizenship. So you have to just Google Sierra Leone citizenship. But they have, like, if you have parents, you can get citizenship this way. If you have this, you can get citizenship this way. So there's a couple of different ways. I just haven't completely clearly understood all of them.
Okay, that's a good point. So yes, Google it. But if both your parents are born there, it's easy, very easy. But you have to be there, though. You cannot do your citizenship from elsewhere. So you do have to be in Sierra Leone to do it. So just want to remind you of that. I don't know how true this is, Browncoat Blue. Someone told me that if you reside at least 183 days outside of the US, you don't have to pay the taxes. I don't know how true that is. I'm not really sure. I don't know. So I can't tell you that. I do not want to tell you an answer to that I don't know. So yes, if you could share that link, though. Share that link with me if that's true, because I don't know anything about that. Okay, we're not gonna go crazy on this one. Okay, Uncle Sam has the biggest. Ask Wesley Snipes. Ask a lot of people. Fat Joe, in fact. A lot of people.
Now Shakira.
Yes. $1 million or something crazy. Odie99, I'm in Ghana now. Just got back from Accra from Kumasi. Do you know any decent night spots? Oh, yes, I do. Okay, so real quickly, don't want to spend too much time on this, but Bloom Bar was one I used to go to all the time. But if not that, Exhale Lounge is very nice. I really like it. I'm more of a loungy kind of guy, not a club guy. Also, but if you're a club guy, Twist is a club that people like. And then there's also what's the name of this place that my homegirl works at? I don't know. Email me. I'll give you a list. I have a list. I have a whole like Google document for all my friends who come from Sierra Leone, and they have all the places that they like, and so I've been filling it out. So email me. I'll give you access to the doc for sure. Minor kids can get citizenship through the parent, but siblings cannot. Okay. I got you. So meaning if like in Aisha's case, is that what you're saying? Because I wasn't a minor when I got my citizenship. So I'm presuming you're talking about Aisha's case.
Yeah, I think that's what I heard too. If I have minor children, but once they turn 18, then they can. I heard that too.
Okay, Stephanie's just letting everybody know that she has a notary in New Jersey, and if anyone needs one. Okay, SS. Paternal test or maternal test with African ancestry. Which one should my father take?
So your father, because he has the X and Y chromosome, can do either. So if he does a maternal test, is going to tell who his mom and her mom and her mom and her mom, and through paternal is going to say his father and his father and his father. But us as women, we have 2 X chromosomes, so we can only do a maternal test.
There's an interesting side conversation that can be had, but we're not going to do that today. But that's good. That's good. That's really interesting. Good to know. Okay, so Spear Warrior said all I wanted was citizenship. Salone Hidden Gems was great. It was a great value. Okay, that's all you wanted. Stunning Empire says Salone Hidden Gen owners live in Salone and own a hotel, so that's why theirs is more affordable. When you book with them, you're staying at their Black-owned hotel. What's the name of the hotel, by the way? Because I didn't know that. Because man, I've been spending a lot of time at the Lebanese hotels, that's for sure, and they're not cheap. They are not cheap. The local phone companies are not locally owned. Good point, because we talked about that earlier. Okay, I'm gonna try to skip through to anything. And are you seeing anything, Aisha, that you want to call out?
So somebody asked, what would be some improvements in Sierra Leone that would make the country your primary home, hospitals and businesses, etc.? I don't know for you. For me,
I have thoughts.
Sierra Leone, once I have a consistent income that's remote, I can live in Sierra Leone. And I think it just depends on who you are as a person. Other than, coming here for medical things, I wouldn't see myself coming back except for to visit. But I think it just depends on you and your lifestyle and where you can live. So like I said, I still stayed in Elmina for 3 weeks. I stayed in kind of like a bougie hut with no AC. I stayed at Lemon Beach Resort. Accra wasn't for me. It was nice, Wi-Fi, AC, pool, gym. I wanted to stay in Elmina. I wanted the quiet. I was by a fishing village. I could go sit at the beach every day. So I think it just depends on who you are as a person.
Yeah, great question. And to answer your question, I'm building a primary residence in Sierra Leone right now. My challenge is that my career is in investing in startups across the continent. And I'm early in that career. I have a 16-year career in something completely different in advertising, but I have a 4-year career, really, but really infant stages of the investment community and like advising startups. And Sierra Leone is not as well known for its startup community. It's very small. Now I do have a nonprofit called Launchpad Africa, which you guys have heard me talk about, where we are investing in startups, and we're actually doing our first major partnership this year to get started with this process with another company that's doing that. But for me right now, I need to spend a lot of time in Nigeria and Ghana and eventually Nairobi and in Johannesburg and Cape Town for me in order to take the next step in my career. So unfortunately, Sierra Leone cannot be my primary residence for now, but in the next 10 to 15 years, it will be my primary residence. Once the house is built. I
definitely can see that. Yeah. Especially when people from the diaspora or people like me come back to Sierra Leone and want to start business. So I know I want to do something at Tasso Island. It's a fishing village. So I'm like, what? I don't know anything about fishing, but I want to do something to help empower the people, maybe do some type of training or something to help them to have a business doing what they naturally already do. But that would be a startup. So I would need help. And you're already in Sierra Leone. So that's one of the questions that I have is, how do I start a business in Sierra Leone? So that might be an upcoming series that I'll have soon. How do you start a business in Sierra Leone? Do you start it here and just, if it's an import-export business, I guess it depends on the type of business, but that's something I'm going to need to know in the next 2 or 3 years is how to start a business in Sierra Leone.
There it is. All right, couple of really quick things, and then I promise we're going to jump into this last because I see the end. The end is near. Okay, so okay, so okay, so now I just lost it. The 183 days is true. SS is saying about being outside the United States and paying taxes. Then Miss S, I love the S's here. There are no taxes on income earned outside of the U.S. up to 175,000. I don't know about that, but that's what they're saying. Also, the hotel that was owned by the folks at Salone Hidden Gems is called the Stafford Lodge. I actually have seen that place and I have never been there, but I just saw it the last time I was there. So definitely want to check in on that. Ms. S says, I heard the president of Sierra Leone is thinking of offering land to new citizens. Any information on that? I haven't heard any information on this. There's been a lot of controversy around land in Sierra Leone as of the last, 40, 50 years around Creole people getting land and all kinds of other things. This is a thing. This is a thing in Sierra Leone, and it's this is controversial for sure. I don't know if BO is doing this, but you should definitely just look up as much as you can. It should be online eventually, whenever they get around to doing this, and I'm sure African Ancestry and the folks like that, once it's something that's offered, they're obviously going to make sure you're aware of it. But I don't know anything about this.
During the commencement ceremony, he did mention, it was like a big press conference, and he tweeted it out. He did mention, and Dinah Samir has it on his channel, what he said was he does not see why the diasporans should not be given free land. There are some emails that I've gotten, I don't know if it's spam or if it's legit, that there was some land available, and you just say, oh, I'm interested in land, and you fill it out, and they're like, okay, now come bring your money to this office in Sierra Leone. I was like, I haven't even seen the land or any, like, that does not seem right. So that's why I think if you go through the right channels, go through the right ministry, that you can. And I also, I think from my research, from what I've seen, is when you're buying the land, if the chiefs own the land, or you have to go through the chiefs, so the paramount chief, and they have to like have a whole thing, because some land, I guess, is government owned, and then some land is owned by the chiefs. So really, I think it just depends on the process and who you're getting your land from. So for me, I was offered land through the chief of Tasso if it's helping the community there in Tasso. So.
There it is. Okay. Okay, so let's get into, okay, because we went through a lot of the questions and comments. Let me get back to my questions for you before we finalize with some questions. We've been on for 1 hour and 46 minutes, so I don't want to keep you all night. Oh, it's daytime there. It's 10:40 for me here.
Oh wow, yeah, it's just 3:30 here, 3:46.
So you're back in California.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay. Or
my goal is to get to DC. My goal is once I'm done with school, I want to get to DC. It makes it easier to get to Sierra Leone, and there's just so much history and things there. So
yes.
Plus, I think I don't appreciate it because I've been here my whole life. So people are like, "Oh my gosh, you're in California." Yeah, I'm here.
I spent 4 years in LA, and my plan was to move to DC pre-pandemic, and then I just decided to move to Ghana at the end of the year anyway. Okay, so so these questions are about your trip to Sierra Leone and what it was like. So we're in this phase now. So my first question for you is, how was it? Like, what was your first impression when you got to Sierra Leone? Having gone to Ghana before, what was your impression when you arrived in Sierra Leone? Like, how was it?
I think my first impression was, oh, this is interesting. So I try to go into things with a very open mind. Having been to Ghana, and that being the only other country on the continent that I've been to, I did compare everything. So I feel like Ghana itself is more busy. There's more people, but Sierra Leone has more traffic, if that makes sense. Freetown, I feel like it has more traffic versus Accra. I feel like Freetown, and I compare Freetown to Accra because those are like the major cities. So I would say Accra is probably more developed. There's more things that maybe look like the West there versus Freetown. But I don't know. When I did get there, I got there at nighttime. I was just amazed. I think I was just in awe of everything. Woke up, you have the view, walked across the street. I stayed at the Radisson Blue. Walk across the street, the beach is right there. There's a mango shop with pineapples. You know, I didn't have that in Accra because it's very, very city-like. So there was, it felt almost like, the US. I was very comfortable to get around on my own in Sierra Leone. I got on a keke, no problem. After being there for a few days in Accra, I had a driver. Things are very spread apart. Things are far. So I feel like if I was in Ghana, I'd have to have a car. Sierra Leone, I don't think I would have to have a car. I felt very comfortable, I went shopping by myself. I went to, I don't know if it's the place that Stunning Empires mentioned. So we were on our way to the beach and we seen Idris Elba. Somebody on the bus knew Idris, so we got invited to a party that he had. And I think it's at this hotel that he's mentioning. It's like a restaurant, hotel, and everything. I got there on my own. I got back on my own at night by myself. I felt very comfortable. I felt very safe. I walked to that place and walked back to the hotel. The only thing I would say is there's no lights. So it's very, very dark. There's no street lights and things like that. but I just feel like it's easier to get around in Freetown than it is in Accra. And I think it's because everything is very close. And maybe I just felt more comfortable and confident seeing that I had already been on the continent before. So I could use my GPS and just tell, the driver, hey, this is where I'm going. It was very fun. It was very, very fun. So we spent most of the time in Freetown. We did, I guess there's like little Providence and things like that are outside of Freetown. But I loved it. I took a KK, went and got my hair braided, went to the salon. I didn't do any of that in Accra. So in Sierra Leone, I felt like I'm at home. It's almost like a living experience, where in Ghana, I felt more like as a tourist, on vacation, or I'm traveling. So after being in Sierra Leone, after a couple of days, it was like, and I don't know, it could be psychological. I was just like, hey, I'm at home. I'm going to get around. I'm going to figure things out. And I'm going to get around. So after a few days, I felt very, very comfortable.
Yeah, and you made a point about how busy it is and more traffic. So just for context, right? So Sierra Leone has between like 1 million and 3 million people in Freetown, right? Freetown is 81 square kilometers, right? Accra has more like 4 million people, but it's 225 square kilometers, right? So it's more people in a smaller space. So that would be why you see much more traffic. And because of the civil war in Sierra Leone, a lot of people left the outer provinces and moved to Freetown. And so Freetown is much more populated, much more densely populated than it ever was in its entire history. So that could explain why it's so busy. I would say I normally don't recommend walking alone at night as a woman in Sierra Leone.
Well, so I was with another woman, so I wasn't by myself, but I wasn't like with my tour guide. I wasn't with, a Sierra Leonean, and it was just me and another woman from the group that were together.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Just for all those out there, just to clarify.
Yeah.
Yes,
I wouldn't walk alone at night here in the US. So yeah.
Yes. I rarely walk alone anywhere at night, unless I got my taser with me. Because the taser, you can have a seat if you want to. All right. So anyway, so that's what it was. What did you like most about your trip to Sierra Leone?
I think the people, the culture, the language. So my mother's father's side is from New Orleans, and he spoke very, very quickly. And I used to always say, my mom would say, I think Popo spoke Creole. So they're from New Orleans. So we were always told, oh, we're Creole, but like Creole. But the way that he pronounced things, when I got to Sierra Leone, I was like, I think my papa was speaking Creole. So just hearing Creole, I could understand it almost immediately. So just hearing the language, the food, a lot of things, the lifestyle resonated with me. So the fishing, I love fishing. I go camping. My uncle goes fishing. There's a lot of fishermen in my family, being at the beach, being connected to nature. So I feel like just the culture, the food, there wasn't anything, I'm a seriously picky eater. There wasn't anything that I tried that I didn't like. So I would say just, the culture and the people was my favorite thing. And I think that that's why people were like, oh, a lot of Sierra Leoneans, they live in Ghana because it's more developed. And I'm like, nah, I'm a Sierra Leonean. Like Sierra Leone is, for me, it's more my vibe than Ghana.
Agreed. Sierra Leone is more my vibe too. I really want to live in Sierra Leone. I just can't right now, but I'm with you. I am with you because it is going to happen. So you mentioned something, and this wasn't on my list of questions, but you mentioned it, and I have to ask you because you mentioned food. Did you have Sierra Leonean jollof?
Yeah. So I like Ghana jollof better.
How dare you? How dare you? How dare you?
So I know Sierra Leone won the contest. I don't know how, to be honest. And I've asked people, they're like, oh, Nigerian jollof. I tried Nigerian jollof, but it was made here in the US by a Nigerian. I don't like that either. Ghana jollof, oh my gosh.
All right, so now I can't trust anything you say. I can't trust anything Aisha says. I'm sorry, guys.
I love crane. I love the potato leaf soup, the cassava. And it could just be the person that made the jollof.
You only had it from one person.
Just from one person. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
and then even like her cassava leaf stew that she made was really good. And then I ordered it at the hotel and I was very disappointed with whatever the hotel did. I was like, nah, this ain't it. So it really depends on who makes it.
And not everybody makes everything the same. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Because for me, it goes Sierra Leone, Ghana, Nigeria.
I've heard that. I've heard other people say Sierra Leone has the best jollof. So I'm like,
well, some people say Senegal. I think the further you go west, the better it gets. I can't dispute it because I haven't had Senegalese jollof. But it originated from the Wolof people. The Wolof people are a tribe in Senegal. Apparently, it's where it came from. But as you go further east, you know, obviously it changes, right? Yeah, you disappointed me with that answer, Aisha.
Yeah, this jollof wars. Don't tell anybody I said that. No.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. So I did want to ask you this. What did you wish you knew before you went?
I wish I was more prepared for Bo.
Okay.
So everything was perfect until I got to Bo.
Just your stay, right?
I just wish I was more prepared for the hotel in Bo. Because the tour guide that I went, he had never been there before.
Yeah.
So he wasn't prepared for Bo either. So
Diallo had never been to Bo before.
He'd been in Bo, but not that place. So where we stayed, he tried to get a place where we could all be together in one hotel versus like a few people here, a few people there. It just wasn't very clean, and I'm an outdoorsy person, so I made a comment and I felt very bad. I felt very bougie. I was like, it felt like camping. Yeah, like I didn't bring my shower shoes. I didn't bring clean sheets. It was I did not sleep very well that night. Let's just say that. I slept with all of the lights on. I did a quick wash what's important. Yeah.
Yes.
So I wish I would have been more prepared for Bo. I wish I would have known a little bit more Creole, and how to count the money and how to barter, really. But other than that, like, I just loved it. Everything. I feel like everything was perfect. So.
Okay, that's fair. And for those of you, I've mentioned this on a few videos before. Buy bug spray when you land. Number one, buy bug spray. Definitely do that.
Good idea. Yeah.
When you get into also have a pair of like rubber shower shoes, right? Because when you're going to the outer provinces, unfortunately, and we've talked about this on another live, and I mentioned this on my 2 different hotel videos that I've done in Bo. I did the Sahara Hotel, and I can't even remember the other name of the hotel I stayed at. Definitely bring your rubber shoes for showering, rubber slippers, for showering. And then also make sure you just have bug spray. And yes, having a pair of your own sheets is an ideal scenario. Because in terms of, what do we call it? Like the tourism, Bo is not visited as much. And so there isn't very high demand for hotels there, which means that, you know, when demand is low and supply is low, people don't do a really good job of focusing on making it upscale, you know? So everybody I've known who's ever gone to Bo usually stay with the people they know. I have almost always stayed in hotels when I was there. And yeah, I mean, you learn how to rough it when you live in Bo, you know what I'm saying? Cold water. You know, like it's a different experience. Sometimes toilets don't flush. So I say all that to say this, because you just need to know what you need to know what you need to be prepared for, right? And so I still go to Bo as almost every time I go to Sierra Leone, because that's, you know, half my family is from Bo. So like I need to be there, and you know, but yeah, I think
it's fine as long as you're prepared. As long as you know,
as long as you know,
fine. Yeah.
Bug spray is going to be your friend. You're gonna do a self fumigation under the bed, windowsills, corners, inside the closet, around the corners of the closet. Like do all of that.
Shake your stuff off and clean it before you go where you're going back.
Yes, don't leave your suitcase open. Things like that.
Yeah.
All of those things. If you know those things, I'm just probably gonna do like things you need to know before staying in a hotel.
It was just very surprising because Bo is very clean. like outside,
very nice.
the roads, everything. It's very, very clean. So
yeah, and they do a better job with the bikes. You know, there's not as many bikes in the main areas of Bo like they are in other places. There's certain areas where they just don't go. It's just they're better overall with some of those things. I mean, Bo is its own city, right? Like, you know,
I was impressed by the toll. I was like, oh, they need to do this in Freetown. You got to pay for the toll. I'm like, that's good money right there. That helps with the economy. I loved it.
Oh, you're talking about to get into Bo, right outside of Bo. Yeah, the Bo city limits. Yeah. Yes, the other tolls unfortunately are owned by the Chinese, and that's to pay back for the road that was built. There's like 3 or 4 tolls on the way to Bo. Anyway, all right, let's move on to the last couple of questions. I was going to ask you, how were you adjusting? I didn't realize, as I was going to ask you this, I realized that you're back already as I see your background. How did you adjust it? Not how are you adjusting, but how did you adjust? I mean, you said you're an outdoorsy person, but how was it to adjust to the new environment, or what was it like?
I'd say my biggest hurdle personally when I got to Sierra Leone and Ghana is because of the flight. My feet swelled, my face swole, like everything was swollen my whole entire trip. So I didn't have compression stockings. I now have some, but I had the same situation in Ghana, and because I had never traveled so far before, I didn't know. But other than that, it was fine. I feel like Sierra Leone is a lot cooler than Ghana, or maybe it was just the time of the year that I went. So I went in April. But adjusting, I kind of just fell in. It was just like, it just felt like home.
Okay, fair.
Last coming question. Back, it's a reverse culture shock, especially when I went to Ghana and coming back. Like you know, you hear, oh, you're a minority here in the U.S. Like it's a serious reverse culture shock to where you don't really want to leave the house when you get back, and you go and you're like, wow, there's like 4 Black people in this store. You don't realize how much of a minority you are until you go to the continent and you come back. So
yes, I spent almost 2 years on the continent, and it was a shock. I went to England first. That was different. Then I went to France. Then I came to the States, and it was glaring. Even though I spent most of my life in the States, I just so used to being one of a few. And it was weird to now be back and see that again. That was definitely different, for sure. And even in my work environment now, I work for a US based company now. And so when we get on our Zoom calls and you see like 50 people and you're like scrolling through, it's like, oh, there's like 3 of us, know? So it's definitely different now. Okay, cool.
And it's interesting because a lot of people are like, oh, why do Black people have to make everything about race? And I feel like because everything here is about race, but not once in Sierra Leone did I have to think about the fact that I was Black. I didn't even have to think about the fact that I'm Muslim. Like I was able to blend in with my shopping because I had my hijab on, or I wore like the longer one that I have. So a lot of people, I just blended in. So
right. Yeah, I could see that actually. Because I think Sierra Leone is like 70 or so percent Muslim, right? Practice Islam there. And one thing I'll mention before we move on to this is because when you mention why do Black people always bring up race is something people ask. In the United States, it's easy to otherize people, right? And see people as less than or different, right? So it's clear that somebody is different from you just by looking at them. And so in the United States, there's a lot of otherizing, especially by the majority or a group of the majority, right? In Sierra Leone, what you'll notice is that there is religious marriages, right? Like there was a TikTok trend, like how do you say you're Sierra Leonean without saying you're Sierra Leonean, right? And it's like my father is Muslim and my mother is Christian.
Christian, right?
In Sierra Leone, I can tell you that. I mean, it was the same thing with my grandfather. My grandmother was Muslim and my grandfather was Christian, right? And so you do have that in a lot of ways in a lot of places in Sierra Leone, and it's just the Islam is taken seriously by Christians, right? And Christianity is taken seriously by Muslims, right? And I've noticed that even just like how people greet each other, right? Even if you're a Christian, you'll greet someone the way that they're greeted as a Muslim, right?
Wow.
And also, yeah, Ramadan. I mean, I had a guy, a Muslim, my driver is Muslim, but he grew up in a Christian household. And so he still prays 5 times a day. He has all of his, you know, he obviously practices Ramadan, but he also understands, you know, Christian religion, and he supports anyone who has that belief. And so I just think it's really important, because for me, it was interesting to know, like, part of my family is Muslim, part of my family is Christian, and that's how I grew up. It was just a part of me. But like in America, you have a lot of people who see Muslim as something, it's different. It's
other.
That other.
It's another other. Yeah. Even within your own family, because I grew up Christian. My uncle's a pastor. So that was the other thing that I loved about Sierra Leone, is everything was, okay, we're going to do the Christian prayer. Now we're going to do the Muslim prayer. So I actually did the Muslim prayer during the ceremony. I felt very honored. And it was Ramadan. So I was like, what? I'm doing the Muslim prayer during the month of Ramadan in my new, you know, home country. So it was amazing. And my Temni, because I have Mende and Temni, my Temni family are Muslim, my Mende family are Christian. So I love it, because it's like a perfect mix, and they respect everything, and they honor Christianity and Islam in everything, everywhere. So, you know, the fact that we're driving down the street and I see Ramadan Mubarak and Eid Mubarak signs, I loved it.
Yes, and it's interesting, because those same places will do like a Christmas tree and Christmas, but then they'll say Eid Mubarak during Ramadan. Yeah, and so a lot of like the town centers, right, at the roundabouts. All right, last question. What advice do you give anyone trying to get their, second to last question, trying to get their citizenship in Sierra Leone? What advice would you give to someone?
My first advice is, I would say, don't put it off. Look at it as an investment. It can be very expensive. I think I spent $5,000 on outside of just my test. So the test is like $300 or something save. So my husband makes pretty good money. I don't work a full-time job. I work when I want to travel. I worked for 3 or 4 months, saved up that money, and that's how I went to Sierra Leone. So you have to make it a priority, and you have to look at it as an investment. So it's more so of a mindset thing. And I would say do it now, because it might get harder. The rules might change. Something might change, you know, over time. There's more opportunity now because it's a new thing. You know, they may not offer a lot of the resources and the things that we have now and opportunities we have now later.
There you go. All right. A couple things. I just went through and started a few messages so I can quickly go through these. There's a lot. There was a lot. All right. Okay. So Browncoat Blue says, I got to go to Ghana a couple times a year, but I think Salone will be the next stop. Was going to go to Gambia, but I think Salone might be better. If you can get your citizenship, go to Sierra Leone first, and it makes it easier to go anywhere else you want to go. So definitely recommend that. Browncoat Blue says, good question. How does the good differ from Ghana food, Aisha? More or less flavor and spice? Don't do this.
I like spicy. So I think that's why I like Ghana jollof better. But I liked the Sierra Leone stews better than Ghana food. So I wasn't a big fan of Ghana food. I just liked the jollof. But like I said, there was nothing in Sierra Leone that I did not eat. And I don't like mushy foods and texture, but I ate okra stew. I don't eat okra, but in Sierra Leone, I will eat okra stew. It was so good. So I like spicy, the flavor. That's what I like, the spicy. And because things are spicy, that just confirmed I'm Sierra Leone and we do spicy.
Boom, that's it. Yeah, Sierra Leone, there could be really spicy food in Sierra Leone. It depends on who is making it, right? Like on my paternal side of the family, a lot of people eat spicy foods. On the maternal side, maybe not so much from my experience. But I will say that I got indoctrinated into spicy foods actually being in Ghana, because they put spice in everything. They do have the shishito pepper that is really good here in Ghana. So I'll give them that. But yeah, we have
everything.
Yeah, we have
I went to the African market here and I was like, I need that.
Yeah,
I need that.
It's good. Sierra Leone does have a wider variety of stews that are better flavorful, but I do think there are couples that we do overlap with. Like groundnut soup, I guess is what people say. It's peanut butter soup. Both in Ghana and in Sierra Leone, we do it. It's a little different, but to me, they're more or less the same. I have a housekeeper. She makes it. It tastes just like my mom used to make it, so it's good. But yeah, Spear Warrior told me to cut you off because you were saying Ghana jollof was better.
Sorry.
Sorry. He did say you have to get jollof.
It could just be whoever made it.
That might be true. The Stafford Lodge apparently has good jollof. And then pepper soup from Wilberforce Roundabout. Yeah, man, Spear Warrior went everywhere while he was there. Shout out to you.
When I went to Ghana, I came back and I tried to make it's like the green, so it's on my channel. I ruined it. I cannot make jollof. I cannot make kelewele. I tried to make cassava leaf stew. That's gonna have to be the thing that I learned, is I have to learn how to cook. So
got it. Okay, couple more quick things and then we'll wrap this thing up. We are at 2 hours and 10 minutes. I really appreciate your time, Aisha. This has been really, really, really insightful. I really appreciate it. I usually go for over an hour, almost 2 hours. So this is a norm for me. It's just the first time back on the continent, and I don't know how many weeks. So
I was happy to be invited. No problem.
Of course. You had a great story, and you were giving so much insight on the lives the last few weeks where people were asking questions about this. So I thought it just made sense for you to be on and tell your story. How was the food at the Lemon Beach Resort? I'm staying there for one night after the Slave Castle tour, then going back to Accra.
The food's really good. So the food is really good. It's locally sourced, so I loved it. And that's where the jollof is really good. The kelewele is really good. So I was there for 3 weeks, and I gained weight staying at Lemon Beach. So I came back to the U.S. about 5 or 10 pounds heavier from eating all the good food. So
yeah, the funny thing is I came back from the U.S. heavier. I was eating a lot of bread. Okay, I don't have a housekeeper in the U.S., so that was the thing. I had to source my own food. It's not easy. Okay.
Yeah, do some of the tours when you're at Lemon Beach. Do some of the tours. So you can go down to the fishing village, and I forgot the guy whose name is there, but like we went to the fishing village, picked up some different things, and his grandmother actually brought me to her house to make the green soup and showed me how to make it. And she was telling me, she's like, there was a serious language barrier because, I don't speak Tree. And she was like, no, you're doing it wrong. You're too soft. So she's like, no, move. Let me do this. But it's a really good experience. I love being at Lemon Beach. It's very different than being in Accra. So, yeah.
Boom, there it is. Okay. Browncoat Blue had it from Sierra Leone, family in town. I was not impressed. Okay, we're talking about jollof again.
Jollof.
Then, of course, voyages with, is it Shaisha? Is that what I would say? Shaisha, right? Shaisha. Senegal jollof has my vote. Yeah, my Kenyan coworker once told me he likes Senegalese jollof best. I don't know. It's fine. Oh, ouch, Patricia. I've eaten many African dishes. The only food I don't like is Nigerian food. Listen, you Nigerians who watch my live and watch my videos, don't come after me. This is Patricia's message.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Nigerian food either.
Yeah. Oh, that's Aisha's message.
We went to a restaurant here in Sacramento, and we spent like $200. And my husband has one of his best friends is Nigerian, and he was saying, her food just doesn't taste the same anymore. So he's Nigerian, and he was even saying the same thing. And I was like, yeah. So I was like, I'm glad that my Ancestry results said Sierra Leone because I don't like Nigerian food.
Wow. Okay. OD99 says it feels great seeing all African faces being on the continent. Agreed. I felt seen when I was in Senegal. Back to the conversation about religion. I've noticed that all the Christians in Ghana always wish the Muslims happy Eids. Yes. Very nice to see. That is why the continent will forever be home, Patricia says. Okay, let me skip that. I know I'm gonna skip some comments, but I just want to make sure we get to everything. If there's anything specific, okay, here we go. This is an interesting one because I have my thoughts on this one. Well, first of all, something good. SS says this was a great live stream. Thank you both. We needed this info big time. Good. Well, thank Aisha. Really, she was the one who had all the insights, right?
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Patricia had to leave. Bye, Patricia. Okay, iTuber had a question. He says, how would she compare the friendliness of Ghana versus Sierra Leone? What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like in Ghana, people were more friendly. Like it was like, Akwaba, Akwaba, welcome home, welcome home. In Sierra Leone, people kind of mind their business. They stay to themselves. So if I wasn't shopping or at someone's shop or they weren't coming for me to buy anything, people weren't approaching me or asking me where I'm from or anything like that. But in Ghana, people would see me, and I don't know if I just stood out different. But the people were very, very friendly. Where are you from, sister? Akwaba, welcome home. And, you know, you have to do this and you have to try that. They were very, very excited to see me there in Ghana.
Yes, I have some thoughts here. So having lived in Ghana for now almost 2 years, when you talk to Ghanaians, they'll tell you, yeah, we're really nice to your face. That's what they'll say. So like when you say Ghanaians are really nice and polite, they'll say to your face, right? Yeah. Especially when you're friends with them. And look, I think a big part of Ghanaian culture is the word please, using please. And so that just feels politer. And the
very
word
formal.
Akwaba, yeah, very formal. And the word Akwaba is everywhere, right? Which means welcome. And also the country was founded on the idea of Pan-Africanism, right? Kwame Nkrumah, the first president and former prime minister prior to becoming an elected president, he built the country with that idea in mind, right? Naming it Ghana from the Gold Coast and using this idea of Pan-Africanism. And he spent a lot of time with Pan-Africanists in the diaspora. He lived in England, he lived in the US, and he worked at a university in Pennsylvania. He's a very well accomplished person who lived outside of the continent of Africa. And when he moved back here, he was very big on that. And you can see it in the way Ghanaians deal with the diaspora for the most part, at least in terms of like the overall viewpoint. They're very welcoming in that way. And so, yeah, I mean, and also even in the flag, the Ghanaian flag are the colors of the Pan-African flag, right? Like if you look at my logo, the red, black, and green, and then the gold fist, right? That's like the Pan-African flag, the authentic African logo. Ghana has those exact same colors in its flag, right? And so that's with a purpose, right? Kwame Nkrumah did that with that purpose. So I say all that to say it was built on the idea of welcoming people back. He had Muhammad Ali, Maya Angelou, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, all of these folks come to Ghana as it was just built into a newly built country or whatever. It was a newly named country. Sierra Leone has a very different history. It's not exactly the same. And Sierra Leone had a civil war. So I think all of that has to do with has a lot to do with the culture and the way things are today. People do mind their own business. People do, but people are still very welcoming in Sierra Leone as you get to meet them. It's just not in the exact same way as it is in Ghana, right? And also Sierra Leoneans are more of a abrasive and upfront culture. Ghana is a little bit more docile and more like subdued, right? So it can feel like more aggressive and less polite in Sierra Leone. You know, if you ask somebody their name in Ghana, it's like, Joe, please. My name is Joe, please. And you're just like, oh, that's so polite. They said please with everything, even when they message you.
No, please. Right? Yes.
I mean, oh, that's so polite. In Sierra Leone, there's none of that. I mean, some professional folks do that. You know, my contractor does that, but he also works with a lot of Ghanaians. My contractor in Sierra Leone does put please in front of everything. But even in informal settings in Ghana, people say that. Like, I'm messaging someone today, a friend of mine here, and they definitely wrote like, you know, confirming like we're hanging out on this day, please, right? It was very strange to see that even still for me today. But anyway, I just want to mention that Sierra Leone can be a polite place. It's just a little different. But like, yeah, I was shocked by it when I got to Ghana. I was like, wow, this is different. Like everybody, people wait in line. People wait in line when you go to the bank. I'm like, wow, people wait in line here. Like, because I was ready to just bust. With my Sierra Leone training, I just jumped to the front. I don't care who's in line. I don't care what's going on. I just know this is what you need to do if you want to get something done. I learned that. In Ghana, you can't do that. People are like, hey. There's a queue, and like you see all people politely sitting in the queue, like really sit. So there is a difference there. I mean, people are definitely rule followers in Ghana for sure, 100%. You can bend the rules a little bit in Sierra Leone. That's what I would say. All right, off on a tangent a little bit. Okay, so iTuber says, I know Joe says that people are more polite and reserved, so I was just curious. I do say that because it's true. From like your first impression, on a first impression basis. But I definitely have heard things said about me behind my back at my job. Somebody told me, haters. It was just it wasn't really like a really bad thing. It just had more to do with the fact that I was American, and I think they felt like I got like special privileges because I was American. It seems like that I think is the way it was. That's the way it was explained to me by the person who told me what they were saying.
I've gotten that too. People have told me that, oh, well, you're fair skinned. They're going to treat you nice. So I'm like, I don't want different treatment. That's not nice. I don't want to feel like an outsider. I don't want special treatment. I want to be like everybody else.
Right. Fair. So Spear Warrior said, I had many people approaching me in Salone and saw many locals helping each other. Yeah. And especially because, you're a tall guy with long locks, right? And that's not very often seen in Sierra Leone, right? And so, I think that's probably why people approach you. You like to have a different look. So that's something that happens in Sierra Leone and in Ghana. I would say one of my friends, when he was here, people just kept saying hello to him like randomly on the street every time we walk somewhere. My boy Kels, actually. Kels, I don't get that treatment when I'm not walking with Kels. When I'm walking with Kels, and I was walking with Kels, people were like, Kwaba, saying hello. Everybody was like really. So I do think sometimes if you do have a different look, people are excited to say hello and see you, whatever.
And I wanted to know, how did they know? Like, as soon as we got out of our car, I didn't even have to open my mouth. They were like, oh, welcome, Aquala. And I'm like, how do you know I'm not Ghanaian?
People tell me all the time, though. So what did somebody say to me? I did a call with some Ghanaians that I was advising, and they said you have a fresh face, like you just came from this, that you're in the States. And I don't know what that means, but that's what they said. I was like, all right, so that's how you guys know. Yeah. Got it.
I want to do my best to blend in. Somebody told me it's my piercings, and I'm like, traditionally these are like tribal piercings. You'll see them, but not maybe today, like modern. So like Fulanis have piercings. Yeah.
So people are westernizing for business. So those piercings aren't common. I have seen a lot of like just the one nose, like the one thing here, the nose. I know many friends of mine in the millennial generation or Gen Z are pierced. A lot of people piercing tattoos. That's new. All right. iTuber says we need to rehab the cotton tree in King Jimmy's market area. Monuments and relics, get on that. Yeah, the monuments and relics group, we would love if they could rehab the cotton tree for sure. That needs to become a staple. Like I kept forgetting it was called the cotton tree. All right, a couple more things and then we'll wrap this up. Here's a question. Spear Warrior says she was wearing white Air Force Ones. Doubt it, but yes, if you're wearing white Air Force Ones, people will know that you are not.
Yeah, I wear K-Swiss, but they weren't white.
Okay, cool. VallyofTheSunGirl says, did you feel different because of your skin tone? This is an interesting question. Is this in Ghana you're asking, or you can answer both questions, I guess.
So in Sierra Leone, I only had one person mention my skin tone. The ladies that would come to the hotel to clean my room, she knew like our group was there. And I was like, she's like, oh, what, you're here with the group? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm Mende and Tim. And she's like, oh, me too. And she's like, oh, you're American? I was like, yeah, I'm American. She's like, oh, that's why your skin is like that. That was the only comment that I got on my skin tone. everybody else. It was like, oh, you're Temni, me too. Oh, you're Mende, me too. But that was pretty much it. In Ghana, I didn't get anybody acting or saying anything about my skin tone. And I think it's just because there's so much tourism in Ghana, they're probably just used to it. Especially at Lemon Beach Resort, there's a lot of Caucasian people that come there. I believe the owner is from Ukraine. So I think they're more like, you know, they're used to seeing. I did have someone say when I was in Ghana, oh, you know, we have people that are light skinned like you here. And he was saying, I guess, because of the Dutch settlers in Cape Coast, he was saying, yeah, there's people like you here. So I guess he was saying that there are Ghanaians that are fair skinned as well. But it wasn't often. So I don't think it was a big deal, not directly to me. So no O'Brunies, none of that, no Akatas, I haven't experienced anything like that other than on Twitter, on social media.
Okay. All right. So I think we've gone through as many as we could. I know, sorry guys, some comments were left out, but that was good for the chat. I don't think we needed to put them all live on here. But I think we answered your question there, Valley of the Sun Girl. Yeah, and by the way, you know, obviously in Sierra Leone, there are a lot of Fula and Mandingo people who come from Guinea who definitely are more fair skin tone. In Ghana, there are many different tribes, like 88 different tribes, and a few of them.
In Kumasi, there's Fula.
Yeah, there's Fula and Kumasi.
I didn't get the chance to go up there, so.
Yeah, and you know, it's just there are just many. I mean, the continent of Africa is the most biodiverse continent in the world by far, right? Life started on the continent, right? So of course, you have many different types of people. I think what people think is when they think of sub-Saharan Africa, they think of one complexion because that's generally what you tend to run into. But it is a very diverse, very, very culturally diverse and physically diverse group across the continent. So yeah, I would say maybe take that out of your minds because I don't think as many people focus on that. But there are certain people who definitely think that the lighter their skin is, the more they will advance. Right. People are bleaching skin, et cetera, et cetera. But in terms of like the day to day, I don't think it's like a normal part of people's discussions. Yeah. Yeah, so just mentioning Browncoat Blue mentioned a few fancy people, and then the Ewe people. Yeah, I know some Ewe people who are more lighter skinned as well. Yes, that's for sure. Okay, cool. Last question to close this thing out. I will give everybody one last second to ask one more question, but I want to say this. Actually, no, we asked all the questions. This is it for today. If you have any more questions, go to Aisha's channel, ask her a question underneath the video that I linked in this description, actually. So then that way she can answer your questions directly if you have any more questions for her.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. On that note, Aisha, can you remind everybody where they can find you?
So I'm Aisha Ladon everywhere. So Ladon. It's Aisha YouTube, Aisha Ladon, Instagram, Aisha Ladon. My website is aishaladon.com. So if you just Google Aisha Ladon, you'll find me. I think my Twitter is I am Aisha Ladon because somebody stole my Aisha Ladon. I'm not on Twitter much. I will tweet quotes from books that I'm reading. So I love reading, and I occasionally will tweet on occasion, but not much. So yeah, I'm Aisha Ladon everywhere.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Aisha, for doing this. If you could just stay on right after. Yeah. Yes, of course. I was happy to have you. This has been really, really, really helpful. And I thank you for taking the time. And guys, like I said, go to her channel to ask any more questions.
Yeah, tomorrow's video is going to be a tour of Bunce Island and my Temne naming ceremony. So
nice.
There's a new video every Tuesday. So yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to check it out too because I'm interested to watch that process. All right, guys. And with that, thanks for watching. I will see you all on the next video.